form of presidential directives. Will you confirm or deny the same? And finally, that the money you supervised, spent, the process of procurement and expenditure did not respect the procurement law, and that LPOs only were raised without quotations, and they were taken direct to a person of interest who executed the rest of the process. Will you also confirm or reject? Those are my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Good. Finally, let us have Honorable, gender, let us be gender sensitive. Yes, Kibwezi East.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is very brief question to the former CS. Chair, from the presentations and the submissions from the former CS, at the start it is very clear that she was putting counter attacks to the one Bergeli, the engineer Magiti, the Kabura, amongst others. Maybe my question would be why all of them were against you, Madam CS? Were you in control of your office? I understand from your experience and from your position as the CS, the PS and the rest were under you. Were you a flower girl in your ministry? Because I would imagine you being the head of the ministry, all these transactions, all these movements, all these interactions, including the business that were being done, you would have done something to stop it. So were your officers not working with you, and maybe what was your relationship with your officers and the other staff? Then the last one, Madam former CS, is about the motivation to create a position of the senior deputy director. What motivated you to create, or maybe your ministry, to seek approvals of the creation of that position?
Now. Let us allow the witness to respond to those three members. Then I'll allow another round. Madam Waiguru, please respond to Honorable Mbadi's issue, Honorable Bosire, and Jessica Mbalu.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Bandi asked the question about whether, because of my mention in my affidavit of Honorable Senator Murkomen, Farouk, and Duale, if I am saying they stole the money, and if I have evidence to that effect. I'll bring your attention to my affidavit. And my affidavit does not say they stole. And that's why I say people misrepresent facts. My affidavit was in response to Kafura's allegations. And my affidavit said what I know about the 791. And in that affidavit, I talk about a conversation with Murkomen, which in his response he did not deny. He actually accepted when he responded. We only dispute the nature of the conversation. And two, Honorable Duale was mentioned because of the attachment that is written there, the brief on how we got to know about this matter and how we reported to CID. So if you read the affidavit, you will see the issue is not about who stole, is that there were conversations with various individuals who have been listed in the investigation, and I made reference to them. However, having said that, I think it's public knowledge that even with the chart that I gave you, you saw that there were correspondences and conversations between Ben Gethi and Farouk, and that's what we were saying, that I do not know this man. However, this person is known to such and such a person, and the evidence is provided. That evidence is not provided by me. It is actually provided by CID, and it's some of the documents that they provided in their report. Now, on the second question on the follow-through.
Madam Waiguru, just to clarify on that question. My understanding is that the documents that police used to investigate are confidential documents. How did you get access to this CID document?
Honorable Chairman, if you remember that these documentations were actually available even at the time last year. And just the same way I'm saying, you asked me to get you the document showing that Kafura has been recommended for being charged in court for perjury. You can find documents if you need them, and some of them, you will look for them, you will find them.
I think you've not answered the question. How did you find them? Of course, to find, you have to look, but how did you find them? Because this, I know for a fact that in a matter that doesn't concern you directly, police files are confidential files. So how did you find this document?
This document was circulating.
To who?
It was circulating around. Nowadays, there's hardly any document you can't find either in the internet or wherever. So it's not an official submission.
So you got it in the internet?
No, I got it from a friend. It's an informal. It is not a formal document that I was given, but I have access to it. On the second question, on follow-through on the issue of the AIE holding, I think I have made it very clear to this committee that I did do my part in ensuring that I allow the officers under me to do their work. And for the issue of the PS, being the accounting officer, when I sensed there was an issue, I wrote to him and reminded him of his duties. Now, that is the follow-through you can do as a minister, short of going across to the institution to look at the system. My work was not to look at the system. That was the work of the accounting officer. You assume that once the instructions are made, he is the one to follow through according to his obligations in the law. And that no one can change. It's in the law. I've already read the provisions of the law, section 68, 1 and 2F. And I've also talked about section 67 of the PFM Act, the Constitution. I have made reference to it. And I've also shown you correspondences from me to the PS reminding him of his duty, which, by the way, negates that conversation which he says that other people were running the ministry and not him, because you could see I actually wrote to him to tell him to make sure he takes charge of the situation. The other issue is on the accounting officer and...
What is it? What is it, Honorable?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I just wanted to really get to understand. You let Dr. Githinji to continue or let go, transact the business of the NYS, whereas you know that he has been misappropriating the funds. Therefore, instead, the person you brought in to take charge, you didn't give him the tools and even put him to be in charge, but you let Githinji go with all the messes for around 2-3 months.
Honorable members, I want you to know that the time we reported the issue of the NYS was in May. And the day we discovered there was an issue, I personally am the one who wrote a letter to CID asking for investigations. Up to that time, we were not even aware there had been a loss of 791. The only thing we knew at that point is that we were complaining about unexplained costs, and you can tell that from the memos. And I said, looking back, you said, no wonder there was unexplained costs. But at the time in January and February, we were not aware there was any loss. We just thought that this gentleman is not focusing on ensuring that there is efficiency. If you read the conversations in the memos, that is what we are actually saying. So you cannot say that we allowed Githinji to continue transacting the system. As a matter of fact, we didn't even know, at least I didn't know, that he continued to transact in the system up to 20th May, save for this auditor's report that highlights that issue. I wouldn't know. If it was not written here, we wouldn't know. So
Just a moment.
So the issue of whether we allowed Githinji to continue, Githinji was continuing in his normal duties, running the institution. What the functions that were transferred was the AIE holder functions. And my memo to the PS in February, which I read to this committee this morning, gave instructions to the PS to ensure he carries out his duties. And there are several others which, as I said, after I wrote to him, he wrote to the DG NYS, and there's a way he supervises his staff. So the issue of not following through doesn't arise because that was not the role of the minister. You don't go to the IFMI system to start looking who's transacting and who's not transacting.
Good. Honorable
The
Mbadi?
second, can I finish answering to the question,
actually,
Honorable Chair?
There is a point
I
of
asked
order.
this,
There is a point of order
question,
from Honorable Mbadi.
Chair, and I have a point of order.
Yeah.
You probably need to guide the witness that the meeting
She's
has to be
guided,
run by
she's
the
guided.
chairman.
Yeah.
You know, I asked the question of Harake and Githinji, and my question was very specific. This was the question. You are the one who told us here that the reason why, and I am sure I got you right. You said the reason why, one of the reasons why Harake had to replace Githinji was because of the escalation of the costs. You realize something was not right. That is the reason why Harake was coming in. If you could get involved at that operational level, why then didn't you ensure that Githinji was actually removed as AIE holder? Because he continued, even though you had realized that he was not managing the project properly, therefore you removed him as AIE holder in your own words. He still continued, so you did not follow through. That is the follow through that we are asking. Then why is it that you did not follow through? And as a matter of fact, the letter that designated Harake as AIE holder did not remove Githinji as AIE holder. So if you are careful enough, as you are careful to even check the costs, you should have ensured that Githinji was removed. So that is the bit that we wanted to understand.
Right. Remember, there were two appointment letters to Mr. Aden Harake. One as an alternate AIE holder, and then another one as a substantive AIE holder. I think that confusion also was there in the ministry. Because it is like you are allowing Harake to be an alternate AIE holder for Githinji. So meaning Githinji continues to be an AIE holder. But later on you decided to say, no, Githinji should no longer be the AIE holder, let's have Harake now being the AIE holder. That, those two communications, we have them. She was
Honorable
continuing. She was, yeah. Continue.
Honorable Chair, as I said, on matters of finance and accounting, the person expected to go checking whether they have actually been moved or not is the PS. And I've already read the sections of the law. Once I have given the instructions, I cannot go to sit there to check whether they are removed in the system. That is not the work of the minister. However many times you ask me that question, the response will be the same. It is not the work of the minister. I have already elaborated that is the work of the accounting officer.
Agreed.
And there was no other way to know that he was still in the system. Save for this audit report, I'm sure probably it even caught Mangiti by surprise. I don't know, unless he says that he knew. I don't know. But for us, we picked it from the audit report. The second issue is on accounting officer to CS. Can I prove that Mangiti has not written to the PS? I have letters, to the CS. I'm sure he can write. But when you are appealing, in fact, on the letters on the budget, I think there were several correspondences. Because you ask, then they say, no, we can only give you this much, then you appeal, and in the appealing, you escalate the request. And so whether he wrote or didn't write, I cannot tell for this at this point in time because I can't remember. But I know he can report matters. Like the way I said, he is expected to report in case he thinks that whatever instructions he has been given can lead to the failure of, to the loss of resources. He's supposed to actually put it in writing and report. Report to the minister responsible or report to the Minister of National Treasury, according to the law. Now, on the matters of, the other question, are the letters genuine? You asked whether the letters I have
Yes,
given
I
were
did.
genuine. Now, I think I took an oath when I came here.
Good.
And I think, as far as I know, and as I can say, I signed them. So they are genuine. And those are my personal file copies. You can confirm the same whether they are genuine or not from the other side. I have even said there is a follow-up memo following my instructions to PS Mangiti to take his duties as accounting officer and telling him to check on the issue of the cost of the roads. He wrote to the DG NYS raising the same concerns in detail as an accounting officer. So that already tells you that he did receive my memo, because it subsequently he took action in terms of informing the DG NYS, and he copied me on that correspondence to DG NYS. And that, again, in the morning I said we can provide that correspondence.
Good.
The other set of questions was from Honorable Bosire on the issue of the parallel team. I did not establish a parallel team. I'll be very clear. I did not establish a parallel team. When we came in as ministers, we got, you know how big our ministry was, we got certain advisors. It's normal to have advisors. There's no office of the minister without an advisor. And we have a team of those advisors. And those advisors, even today, were left with the ministers who took over from us. The specific advisors that are in question are currently sitting in government serving the current ministers. So they were not my parallel team. They are government officers. Once they are appointed for certain function, they carry out that function for whoever holds that office. So it was not a parallel team. And the issue of a consulting house, it's normal for institutions to hire consulting firms to do work. And I don't think that is really a big issue, especially in terms of checking the terms of reference. It's not unique to the Ministry of Devolution and Planning. If you go through the consulting list of government, if you just go to the IFMIS and go under consultancies and check and print out all consultancies within government, you find there are very many. And every ministry has various contractual obligations with various consultants. And so they did not take over government. They usually come to supplement that which the government cannot do by itself. And we were restructuring, I'll repeat, we were restructuring the National Youth Service. I think this story keeps getting lost, but I know some of you sitting here are beneficiaries of the revamped National Youth Service that implemented 5-point plan, in the sense that you have cohorts who are recruited in your constituencies to serve certain capacities in government projects. And you understand that it's in that restructuring because of the change that the NYS was going through from 4,000 to 20,000 a year increase, from 0 cohorts to 80 to 100,000. You will need additional capacity to help you transition. And I think this is, now I should answer this question also in relation to the question of the position of SDDG. I think I need to clarify something. The issue of the SDG was not one request. We did a restructuring of the National Youth Service. We came up with new proposed positions, and then you come with a staff establishment and then ask Public Service Commission, please approve for us, based on what we want to do now since we have changed the institution, these posts and positions. And in one of those was that SDDG, and they said, no, don't call it SDDG, you have SDG, or whatever it is they called it, and then said 7 substantial, whatever it is we're arguing in the morning. So the issue is that the restructuring was in the context of the revamped National Youth Service to implement the 5-point plan. So it wasn't about one individual. There was not going to be one position of SDDG. There were going to be 3 positions. What was rejected was the individual sitting, and they said, don't call this position SDDG, call it this according to these structures, and have level 1 and level 2. And that is within the mandate of the Public Service Commission. Sometimes they approve, sometimes they reject. You just comply. If they reject, you say these positions were rejected, revert to your new positions, and from now on you're called this. It is normal in government to do that. Titles change all the time. The other thing is on the question of presidential directives. I think we all understand that this is a presidential system of government. And that is why you have cabinet secretaries who are not politicians. They are not ministers, I mean, they're not politicians as in elected, but they're appointed by the president. And so when they sit in cabinet, there are certain decisions that are made in cabinet. And those decisions made in cabinet, you can construe them as being presidential directives. And that is how government is run. Decisions start at cabinet level, then they come and translate it in the ministerial level, then you adjust your budgets accordingly, then you seek approvals according to the way. That is the way government runs. There's no other way. Why would anybody want to be president if you cannot make a decision on how to implement your manifesto? People
Mr. Chairman,
choose to run
as she
for-
responds nicely on that issue.
Interfering with
No.
that,
It was clarifying something. As she responds nicely on that issue, I'm happy she has been responding very well, quite well, dearly. The presidential directive issue came in respect of day-to-day handling of the activities within the ministry to do with, for example, the expenditure and the activities which involved the 3.5 billion shillings. So you see, whether you are handling all issues at the pleasure of the president, the manner in which it is invoked is how it came to us, and we thought it was intended for that matter.
Honorable Chair, to respond to that question, I have explained how presidential directives work. They work within the context of cabinet, and there is a way we work as cabinet ministers and how we adjust the institutions to ensure that we deliver on the specific manifesto or directives of government. There are no day-to-day running by the president of any ministry. I don't think that's his role. I don't think he has attempted to do it, and certainly it was not in the Ministry of Devolution and Planning. The third is on the lack of procedure on procurement. Honorable members, we're not talking about a normal thing. We're talking about a theft that was orchestrated unusually. So it is not a normal routine thing to say, why didn't you approve it or why didn't you reject? Who would have thought that anybody will, using LPOs, can go into a government system, add zeros, and go away with 791, and attempt to go away with another 695? It is not normal. So it is not something you say, why didn't you follow procedure? We did not expect them not to follow procedure. We assumed that all procurement of government, of the ministry, is going through the normal procedure using the MTC. As you have seen, you're here investigating a classic example of fraud. Let me also remind this committee that the person who called the CID to investigate the matter of the 695 was me, Anne Waiguru. There was a question that was been asked by Honorable Jessica Mbalu, is why are they all against you? Probably that is it. I innocently called the CID, and maybe I shouldn't have, according to them. So understanding the issue that this is not a normal procedure, because the normal procedures were followed by government in other things. This is a unique situation. And as we said, there was not even a tender. There were just LPOs with a circular from Supplies Branch, which is another ministry, Ministry of Housing. So some unscrupulous people found a way of subverting the system to get the money that they wanted. Honorable members, I have demonstrated to this committee that when I sensed that there were inflated costs, I wrote and I raised that issue and ensured that those costs were coming down. If by any reason I was interested in making sure that they get the money, I would not have raised that issue. I would have just let it go. But I'm the one who even said in this committee, even if they bring you another LPO that says that their payments are justified at 791, I would dispute it because the road was only 3.1 kilometers. And there's no way you can spend 791 million shillings on a 3.1 kilometer road.
Good, you are in agreement
So
with the
the
concerns
other-
of the members. I think you are in agreement with the concerns of the members.
The other thing is, was I a flower girl? No. I have demonstrated that I was not a flower girl. I have shown you my
You are a
correspondences.
CS.
I was a cabinet secretary,
Yes.
and I executed my duties conscientiously. The other question was, why didn't we stop it? We didn't know it was happening. It wasn't something that was announced and therefore here it is. Here is someone saying, I am about to steal in your ministry. Why don't you stop it? We didn't know. Until I wrote to the CID, we were thinking we were only investigating the 698, H22 actually. when they told us, by the way, these same people have been around and have been paid. That information came from the CID, didn't come from us. We didn't know until the day the CID said it. So that's why we didn't stop it, because we didn't know it was going on. But looking back, as I said, when we were raising the questions about cost, if you read my memo to the PS, which says, ensure team of economists, finance, and auditors who check this project on a daily basis. I wrote it down and I read the memo, and it's in all your folders. That is what a minister does. That is what a minister does, and that we did in as much as we could.
I want to allow members to ask questions.
Thank you. I'll take over, no problem. Madam CS, I have heard your answers. You probably would want to, as I allow other members to, just a comment to the answers you gave. You probably may want to indicate how many advisors you had, the roles of these advisors, because we talked to even cabinet ministers, and the impression that is created by those who have come before us here is that you literally had an army of advisors who presided over a reign of terror at the ministry, and that is how come Betty Maina, one of your advisors, a non-state officer, was able to instruct a PS, a state officer, to undertake a procurement which was going to cost the taxpayer over 300 million. I'm also a bit surprised when you say that you didn't know about this theft as the head of the ministry. From the information that's available to us here, the Kabura thefts happened over a period of over 4 months. Yesterday, the PS was here, and we asked if whether or not you people do account reconciliations. And honestly, what would be so important for a cabinet secretary than ensuring that the resources under his or her care are utilized for the intended purposes? It will be interesting to know why such widespread theft could have occurred under your watch. No red flag was raised, and yet you are here with all this battery of advisors, a PS. In fact, you had more, I think 2 PSs at the time. Nobody raised a red flag. This is curious, and probably you need to explain. Put that down. I'll go to Honorable Abdikadir, Honorable Keter, Honorable Arati, then Honorable Fatia. Then we go to the next round.
Thank you.
Did you answer Honorable Mbalu's question?
Not all.
The last question by Honorable Mbalu?
She didn't answer. But why she answered my last question, Mr. Chairman, why is the word flower girl? She's also very beautiful. I didn't mean because of her beauty. I meant running such a big ministry, and then your officers down are not able to work with you.
Beauty is a subjective judgment.
Honorable Chair, that's why I used a flower girl. I should have called her a flower man. She was a man.
Honorable members, Honorable Chair, thank you, Honorable, for that question on flower guard and clarifying. I think let me also elaborate on one issue. Until this issue of NYS came, we were doing pretty well. The Ministry of Devolution and Planning won over 13 awards. 13 awards, that tells you we were working. We were #1 in Africa because of Huduma centers. We were #1 in the world because of Huduma centers. You were in a world. The most transformative initiative in the world, 2015, was won by that ministry. We had recognition because of our youth empowerment programs. We won awards because of the initiatives we did for women and youth. All those are on record. But because, for some reason, the NYS saga has overtaken, it looked like nothing was happening in the ministry other than the theft. Let me just explain that already tells you that we were working. Honorable Simbarati, you interacted with our ministry many times. I think you came by our office severally. I think you have cohorts in your constituency, and you knew we were efficient. We delivered as we were supposed to. It is a fact. Honorable members, the reason I am saying that is to respond to the question.
Please,
And
please,
members,
Madam
members-
Waiguru, Madam Waiguru, don't turn it into a dialogue. You have to make your addresses through the chair, please.
Apologies, Honorable Chair. Honorable Simba Arati through the chair.
Chair, point of information. Point of information. Point of
Who do
information.
you want to inform?
Madam CS.
Do you want to be informed?
To inform.
Do you want to be informed?
Yeah, Madam CS.
No, don't do. Just hold it there. This is parliament. You can't inform her if she doesn't want. Do you want to be informed by the member for Mwatate? No, do you want his information?
Yes,
Say yes.
it's okay.
It is good to hear what the honorable
No,
member
it's a yes or
wants
no.
to
Do
say.
you want to be informed by him?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Okay, carry on.
Thank you, Madam. Madam CS. You know, you have just said that been working very hard, many awards. But when I just talk on my own scenario, Mwatate constituency, I've never had anything of NYS doing.
But that's
any
not
activity.
information, that's a complaint.
It is. No, it is an information. Yeah, it is. You see, hard work, it is referenced. But in my constituency, I've not seen that. You see?
You are on a point of order?
Yes, Chair.
Okay.
Chair. Thank you, Chair. I want just to correct a scenario that the former CS has painted, that indeed I have any NYS activity in my constituency.
Cohorts.
And the cohorts. And actually that was falling under my question that I was to put across, which specific mechanism that you are using in getting those cohorts. Because I'm certain that my colleague who's sitting next to you is a beneficiary, and I wasn't, and all over the country, because Kawangwara happens to be a bit of slummy. Therefore, that was the question.
It's not slum, it's a major slum.
It's a major slum, and I want to let you, Chair, that I did not, at any given time, get any assistance from that institution. Therefore, it's wrong.
So she's out of order to
You're
suggest
out of
that.
order.
Okay,
Not even one.
okay.
Honorable Chair, they say that a friend in need is a friend indeed. And I guess because now I'm not in the position I am, he can
Please
say
don't.
that he didn't.
Please don't go
So,
there.
Honorable
No.
Honorable
Please
Chair,
don't, no. Don't
Let
go
me-
there.
let me finish
No,
responding.
please don't go there. You can't go there.
Chair, let
Honorable
us share
Chair.
the feelings.
Chairman.
Yeah.
No, please.
Why is it that he can say and I can't respond?
Please.
Let her make the statement, Mr. Chairman.
No,
Let her make-
Please. We are not here to trade feelings. Each one of us have their own feelings. This is not a market for trading feelings. Whatever you feel is, I have my feelings. I don't want to start trading them on the floor of this committee house.
Chair, I'm not trading feelings.
You are
It's a
trading
statement.
feelings.
Let me finish the statement.
Chair, it's only fair. Chair,
Honorable Badi, point of order.
Point of order, Chair. Chair,
Yeah.
on this matter, let us be cautious.
Yes.
You know, there has been a lot of rumors, propaganda, innuendos, that even members of parliament, and a good number of them, are involved. So we would want the CS to come, the former CS, to talk freely and mention if someone walked around your office, came for anything, or walked to any other office. Say it. Kenyans want to know, by the way.
Chair.
The
Yeah.
truth of the matter is, the truth of the matter is,
Yeah.
we are not just looking for those who are in government, who have probably stolen. We are looking for anybody out there, including Honorable Simba Arati, if at all he walked there. If he walked there as his normal duty as an MP, that is different.
Chair.
Or if he walked there
As
to
a
be
committee,
compromised.
we can even encourage her to mention more names if she has.
No, but
Yeah.
you see, what I'm saying, what I'm saying, the matter, please, nobody's stopping Anne Waiguru from mentioning whatever she wants to mention. What I'm saying, she had insinuated that there were cohorts in Dagoretti North. And Honorable Simba Arati said they were not there. That's what I'm trying to say.
Actually, they are in Dagoretti
And-
South.
They're in Dagoretti South. Yeah. And that's why, that hence my comment, when she starts talking about a friend indeed is a friend indeed, that for me is trading feelings. We don't need that. Yeah. Please, can
Mr.
you-
Chairman, she's entirely free to open up and even say details, because we are after information.
But not non-factual details. She talked about
So long as they are
cohorts.
fact.
No. She talked about cohorts in Dagoretti North, and the MP is here and he has confirmed there are no cohorts in Dagoretti North.
Honorable Chair, let not some of us become advocates of the former CS. Let her mention even some more names. If you have them, please.
Yeah, she's free to.
Yes.
And it was
Okay,
my question.
please
Chair, let
carry
me
on. Answer the questions.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Arati knows we've had the conversation on cohorts. And the issue is that we rolled out to 70 constituencies, 70. And the second phase was supposed to go up to 120. So if he didn't get it in the first lot, he must have gotten it, he must have been planned to get in the second. I don't know, I cannot now confidently say because I don't know what the government is planning to do. But as you have heard, Dagoretti South, I must have assumed that that is your constituency. But we endeavored to distribute these cohorts across the country. We know that they were in constituents that were both Jubilee and many that were also CORD. In fact, as a matter of fact, I was blamed for going more into the CORD areas than even going to the Jubilee areas in the first round. The question on what informed the choice of the constituencies, I think that was conversation based on the projects. If you look at the 5-point plan, which is Annex 6, it'll tell you the projects and how they were outlined. So it depended on whether your constituency was determined as having been a critical need, especially the ones with the biggest slums. If you notice, we went to informal settlements more than anything else. And also we're looking at whether it will meet the other objectives of youth empowerment, like we did in constituencies such as Kibera and Nyalenda in Kisumu. And I think I have addressed the question on the flower girl, on that issue.
Yes, I understand, but my issue was your staff, the ones who are lower than you, the peers, including those who are, feeders of FMIS. You are not in a position to tell this. They were respecting you? You did not notice that they had a CS, or did you ignore your position to deliver?
I will not be dishonest. I will be very honest and say, up until we found the fraud issue of 791, in my opinion, we worked very well. And that's why I explained even the issue of the accolades that we got. I think many people recognize not just on the youth empowerment and not just on Huduma centers, but other initiatives that we did, including the resettlement of IDPs, matters to do with women empowerment, youth empowerment, all those things that we did with the ministry, including the debasing of the economy and ensuring this country is listed as a middle income. We worked, and we worked very well together. We would not have managed to get those achievements if we didn't work together. I think these relationships went frosty after that CID letter, and the external interference, which I was calling the puppeteer. Somebody, somewhere, stirred the waters to ensure that we are distracted and are heading north instead of looking south where the problem really was. Because looking back a year after I have been out of government, a lot of the things are coming in now. I say, no wonder there was that issue. But at that point in time when you're working, unless you're paranoid, you wouldn't know. If you're asking for work to be done and work is getting done, you don't go to say, can I see your books? Because there are people hired. The Ministry of Devolution and Planning had over 8,000 staff. 8,000. Across the country. So it's a big ministry. It's similar to the Ministry of Interior. So it's not possible to go micromanaging every individual. And that's why there are PSs, and the PSs have directors, and directors have deputy directors, and you have structures all the way down to the lowest level. And so we worked well together until the issue of the fraud and the CID. That is when relationships, and also there was a lot of interference from outside, media coverage, and a lot of insinuation, stories in social media. Everything just went in one direction until wherever it is that we are today. So those are the questions that have been raised. The issue of Mwatate, I think, honorable member, that question that you didn't see us, we were in 70 constituency. I'm sure if I was still there, we would probably be at 120 now, and you probably would have seen us. But I think that question is rightfully now directed to the current minister, who will then decide where they are rolling out the national youth service. The other question was the list of my advisors. I had about...
Chair, before the list of advisors, should not answer my question on what motivated the creation of that position. It's important to answer all the questions. You cannot leave it just to answer some of them.
Which
That was
question?
my
Honorable
answer.
Chair, I actually did.
Deputy Director.
I answered it together with the one, but I will
She did.
repeat. I will repeat it.
We also need to manage time. We have to be here by, I think if you already answered it, we'll get it from the answered. Then carry on. Now, how many advisors did you have and why did you need so many? Because I've talked to some of your colleagues. They say you literally had an army of advisors who presided over a reign of terror at the ministry.
I think that is a very unfair accusation to the advisors. I will say that. I wish, and I'm sure many of you probably who, I don't know who have interacted with them, I think it's an extremely unfair issue. I know people are a bit bitter about this NYS and they can say all manner of things. But to be unfair, those advisors about, there was a gender for every department. I'm sure you are aware that the Ministry of Devolution and Planning was collapsed about 7 ministries, 6.5 ministries. And for every one of those ministries, there was an advisor who specializes, and they don't do routine government work. They were advisory. They review documents. You can imagine the amount of documents that come from the departments. They review and advise. They don't even take decisions. So these advisors, and again, as I have said, other than one, all of them are currently serving the sitting ministers. So the ones who were involved in economic planning went with the minister responsible, current minister for public service and planning. And the ones who were related to the function that have to do with devolution, they went to devolution and planning went to the side of devolution and planning, and the ones for public service and youth went to the public service and youth. And let me correct one notion, that they are not civil servants. They're actually civil servants. They are hired on term contracts. That's the only difference. They are not permanent and pensionable. Their positions are actually approved by the Public Service Commission. Otherwise, they would not be able to sit in a ministry. So they're not personal. They're actually government, and that's why when I even walked out, they still remained and are serving the current ministers.
How many are they?
I said there are about 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there was a UNVs, a team of, those are sent by the UN, they pay them, and then about 3 or 4 assistants for them. Those ones are not substantive
So these are
advisors, but advisors are governance, gender, youth, legal and constitutional, and economic.
So together with the UNVs, how many were they in total?
The UNVs are not advisors. UNVs are assistants. You know, people who carry files around and do research, and they don't even interact with me on a daily basis. So you can't put them. I'm sure somebody would want to exaggerate and say there were 15. And by the way, as I said, approved by the Public Service Commission.
Carry on.
Approved by the Public Service Commission. So if there were all these people, the PSs and the advisors, why was there theft? I don't know. And to tell you the truth, I don't think it's unique to the Ministry of Devolution and Planning. I'm sure you saw that Kafura has a payment from Ministry of Housing and Lands. Who knows if we went there what you would find. I don't know why they picked on our ministry, for one. I don't know in how many other ministries, who can tell? Only an audit report can reveal. And theft, you're a Public Accounts Committee. You know that money is lost in various departments all the time. Money is lost in various departments all the time. 791 was lost in the Ministry of Devolution and Planning. Let me say that one, despite the fact that I'm the one who called the CID to investigate and therefore found the loss, which has now been turned to look like I'm the one who was the loss and I'm the one who found it, I have hopefully given you enough documentation to show that it's not possible that I was the one involved, because I am the one who even raised the concerns. Other than that, you will notice that the Ministry of Devolution and Planning managed on an annual basis a budget of 110 billion. 110 billion. So 791 is a big figure. But in relation to 110, 3 years in a row,
The figure 791 is highly
It's very
contestable.
big.
No, it's highly contestable from the documents that we have here.
True.
Even by the Auditor General's report, it's about 1.6 billion.
1.6 from
Yes.
the fraud.
Yes.
So
yes.
the point and the question.
And this is only the NYS, by the way. We have not gone to special programs. We have not gone to all the other departments within the ministry. So I don't think you would want to say that a budget of 100 billion, 791, 1.6, and you want to look at the percentage as no. That would be arguing the wrong way.
I will leave it. My point is that you sit in the PSC. Theft of government resources did not only happen in NYS. And loss of government resources did not happen in NYS. And it's not the first time that there have been loss. It's a very serious matter. What happens, and the question that should have been asked, is when you discovered there was loss, what did we do? Or when we suspected there was fraud, what did we do? We called the CID. They're the ones who came with that information. In fact, this is the only theft, I can comfortably say, that has resulted in convictions in court. I think in terms of the one in this particular year, in an issue that has been very publicized. Maybe I'm wrong. Sorry, not conviction, sorry. I've been corrected by
prosecution.
Yes, prosecution, which, if you ask me, is the step that we go. When you discover there's a problem, you find out who's the problem and take action. In my view, it should be commended. But then what we did not anticipate is the serious fight back that it would bring. Serious, and I don't think anybody, and this is what I have said in previous questioning, I don't see anybody comfortably going to report anything that they see in their ministries, seeing what I went through. I think people will think twice whether they would want to report. But I will leave it at that. And
Honorable Sele, point of order. She's on a point of order.
Thank you. The former CS has repeatedly said that she did report to the CID. Repeatedly also, Harake, while presenting to this committee, if I'm not wrong, kept on saying that he's the one who reported to the CID. Could we know who did this?
Honorable Mbadi.
You see, Chair, the CS has not just today been repeating this issue of reporting to the CID. Could she today come out clearly and tell us when this matter first became public? When did you report to the CID? Which one came first? You first told Kenyans there was no money lost. Later on, there is money lost. Why that inconsistent? And finally, Chair, as a point of order, she talked, when she was talking about the roles of the advisors, she said they were not getting into operations of the ministry. And yet, there is evidence that Betty Maina even instructed PS of your ministry on the 30% sensitization. So what do you mean when you say your advisors were not getting involved in operations? And this letter to the PS, can you reconcile the two?
I'm not aware of that letter to the PS. I heard about it yesterday. The memo to the PS, it was not in practice. I don't know whether the PS can produce any other than that. And I think that is a question between Betty and the PS to authenticate whether it is real or not. Because right now I can comment on it. If you ask, I haven't had an opportunity to ask her about it so that she can comment whether it is actually true or not. And I haven't had an opportunity to
Madam
But
Waiguru, the letter was copied to you. Mm-hmm. The letter by Betty Maina was copied to you. How can you not know about it?
That is what I'm saying. I don't have it. Unless someone can show it to me.
Copy to Cabinet Secretary for information. This letter here is dated on, the letter is dated on the 12th of August 2014, and it is about recruitment of consultancy firm to offer support services and conduct sensitization campaigns to enhance access to 30% reservation of government procurement for youth, women, and persons with disability. It's copied to you.
Like you asked me, in the letters that I said are written, I would have to check whether I actually received it. I do not recall a memo from Betty to the PS, because that was not the normal practice.
Okay, carry on.
I can respond on who reported to the CID. I think if you read my affidavit, you will see there was two things. And that's what I was trying to clarify in the morning. I'm trying to look for the letters, but let me give an estimation. There was a report on an attempted fraud that came to me from Mr. Harake. He said, my password has been used. My instructions to him is call the CID. When I told him to call the CID, they wrote from the NYS department to CID. From their report, CID reported physically, I mean. They came to NYS and they started to do their work. About 5 days later, after a meeting, I asked him, by the way, what did the CID say? And he said, oh, I called, and that is in the memorandum of my submission to the court. What is it called? Affidavit. In my affidavit. He said, we called the CID, but when the PS and DG found out about it, they told us we will deal with this matter departmentally. Now I'm beginning to report what he said. I told him, I don't like stories. If that is the case, put it in writing. And he wrote on that issue. At that, I think it was 5th of May, wrote a letter which I signed and told the CID, there is this matter, please investigate, because I thought it was a very serious issue to say we will deal with departmentally. Now, after that, the CID, and that is when I said the CID stopped. We managed to stop the transaction that was supposed to go through this 695, which was actually 822. 177 went through, but 695 is what we stopped. And according to them, I think I will leave it to the report of the auditors and to the report of the CID, because they distinguished the 177 was by other vendors, 695 was the ones from the Kafura. We managed to reverse them and stop. And that is the point I said to the public, no money was lost. After that, the CID informed us, by the way, those people you managed to stop have been here before and had transacted and been paid 791. I want to separate the two issues. So at the point of the initiation of the investigation, we did stop a theft of 695 million, and it's on that basis I said no money was lost. And then the CID are the ones who actually told us this similar fraud like was about to happen at 695 had already happened at 791 between November and about, February, March. And so that is a distinction between the two. And so in the issue of reporting, yes, there was two reporting to CID. There was the initial one that was stopped from the NYS, and then there's the one that I wrote myself to the CID. And the distinction between no money lost, our statement to the public, and the money lost, I think now I've made it very clear.
Okay, take the next set of questions. Honorable Kater, Honorable Abdikadir, Honorable Rati, and then Honorable Fatia. Please, tutaenda, everybody wants to ask questions. Tutaenda pole pole.
Thank you, Chair.
Please make it brief, Honorable Kater. Make it brief. You know you are a friend of the committee, so you are on donated time.
Thank you so much, Chair. My question is, I want to ask former
I hope you are
CS,
taking notes.
Madam Waiguru, on concerning a role in the transfers of Githinji and Rugut. Because to me, Chair, that is the genesis of what we see in NYS. And if you remember, Chair, I started mentioning about the craft in NYS 1 year before we saw now the Madam CS going in public saying that she has invited the CID and the rest. By the time they made that transfer of Githinji and Rugut, telling Kenyans that they were restructuring NYS, that was the genesis of what we see. And I want to you know, when you allow her time, she's very convincing, and she can play.
Don't be subjective. Don't be subjective. Just ask
you
your
might,
question.
you might very easily fall into.
Please don't get into don't get into subjective
Thank you
views.
so much. What I'm saying, Chair, is that you know, some of us started raising this issue when Rugut was transferred, and they said they made the transfer. When you read the memo, they put it on a 9th May of 2014. But by the time it was, you got the letter, was on a Monday, 12th of May. By Sunday, which was on 11th May, there was already someone acting as a Director General of National Youth Service in the name of Githinji. But he was sworn in on Tuesday, which was 13th of May, 2014. But he was already acting by Sunday. There was no transfer between Rugut. That is the reason why one out of the wisdom of one of us with the NAV signatures were in the process of impeaching her by 2014. Not the last, not the other one where we tried in 2015. There was an initial one because we were raising concern. If you really want to restructure, why are you removing these Kenyans who are performing when the money is coming from the Chinese, the 15 billion from the Chinese? And we had already, and we have to take responsibility as members of parliament. We are part of this problem because we are the ones who allocated more funds to NYS without telling us what exactly they wanted to do. They started coming up with this cleaning up of slum and building up toilets, and I don't know whether they were a priority then. But all those things were cooked stories after they had the money. So, Madam CS, when you want to convince us that you are very innocent, tell us your role in transferring former Director General Rugut from National Youth Service to sports and transferring Githinji, who you want now to disown and start acting like you want to protect another one called Arake. Githinji is your own baby. You got him from wherever he was and you brought him to the strategic point at National Youth Service so that they could siphon all that money, the 41 billion. I think they were about 41 billion that time, 15 billion from the Chinese and about 25 billion from us, the taxpayers' money. Madam CS, explain to Kenyans what was your role in, because that is the genesis of the problem.
Okay, please just take down the question. You are Honorable Abdikadir, and then Honorable Alice Chai wants to leave. I'll give you before Honorable Arati, then Honorable Fatia. Please.
Thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity. I must, on the onset, say that Madam Waiguru, you helped us a bit in being able to piece together some information which we have been looking for. I know there are a lot of emotions at play in this room today. I must admit that some of us did not even have an opportunity to speak based on the pressure of the amount of anxiety that is in the room. But all said and done, this committee has been sitting and working on this investigation for quite some time now. And where I want to give credit where it belongs is your ability to piece together the issue of the budgetary allocation decision that you made to your PS. Your own PS, former PS who was seated here yesterday, denied at all having been involved. But you have given us his own signature, which shows that indeed even the letter which he says, as you said yesterday, that was yours and was unilaterally sent by your own decision, indeed was a lie before this committee, and I must thank you very much for bringing that piece of information. The other one, of course, is your linking between the law and who holds responsibility. I must say that with all emotions flaring up, at the end of the day, when this committee goes to sit down to make a decision, our decision will be based on fact and factual information before us, emotions aside. So we will know who is responsible or culpable for what based on the information before us. And that is, I think, the other area of the law which you linked, which I must commend for. That's just my forward question. People who sat where you sat here before you, where you're sitting today, have told this committee a number of issues with which will be good for us as a committee if you put your clarifications for us on them. The one I will not repeat, which has been adequately asked and you answered, with regards to your peers. There was a lot of pressure felt by your peers. But generally, men who actually sat here looked very strong, said that you managed affairs of that ministry with an iron fist. Some of them sat where you're sitting, and when they will want to mention your name, sometimes I will see them wanting to look back to make sure that you're not anywhere nearby. Just as your clarification, was that the mode of style of management of affairs in your ministry? My other question is, the consulting house that has offered consultancy to the ministry, how are these guys procured? Because really there are a lot of questions around whether value for money was obtained by the getting of these consultancies to come on board. The feeling is that we probably will have gotten the services they provided at much lower costs than we did eventually pay for if we had subjected them to the process of fair competition. So that issue, and probably your role in terms of clarifying, how are you involved? We know they were acquired, we know they were, we've seen a former director of NYS writing a letter to the PS asking for them to be single-sourced, and then everything else starts up. But how are you involved? Because there are allegations by people who sat where you are now, who say that indeed you are the one who brought those people and brought them to the table and asked those guys to do business with them.
Actually, I may want to help you there. It's not allegations. Mutai Ngunyi sat where you sat, and she said your office was in 11th floor? Is it? She said 11th floor called me, and it is on record, and I said floors and houses don't call people. Who in 11th floor called you? And he said, Madam Ann Waiguru called me and told me, and in fact, he told us that he started working even before he got a contract on your instructions.
Thank you, Chair, for that additional information. So that I would want you to just shed some clarity on that. The issue of the budget is another area where I forgot to mention that indeed I appreciate your work. I've always wondered how it will be possible that on the mere writing of a letter by yourself, the CS Treasury, who is the man who holds the coffers of this country, will have failed in wanting to get this piece of attachment that is legally required. And how, even if he did, the same will be brought to Parliament, and our own budget committee will not demand to ask the details for that. When I served as a member of the budget committee, certainly that will not have passed without me asking or demanding for specific information as required by the law under the what is called program-based budgeting. So that bit of the budget, I think I want to leave it aside. You have
Honorable Dekadera, I said 3 questions.
Okay, my last question. Chairman, I just want to seek, because at the end of the day, there are issues that have been raised here. Your clarification will help us get or make a better informed decision. One of the other issues that was said was that you gave instructions to your juniors, and I know you explained this in the morning, but I just want to seek further clarification on just one fellow who sat here by the name Felici. Is it Felici or Felici? Felici.
Hendrik Felici.
Felici, yes. Who sat here and indeed said that he got instructions direct from you. Under normal government procedures, I know you're a high-ranking civil servant. Is that a normal procedure that happens sometimes? If it is, just clarify. Finally, Chairman, on the GPay, you are a person who had a very good experience of treasury work with regards to payment. You will help us very much, even by just pointing and saying, please go and talk to the person responsible for that and that place. That is where the invoices physically are converted into an IFMIS entry system. It will help us a lot be able to get information from. If you can help us with that, we will appreciate. Thank you very much.
Honorable Arati, I'll come back to you, but I'll go to the member for Nyamira. Honorable
Thank you.
Bunyasi, I'll come to you, don't worry. Honorable Manji, I'll come to you.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. I have a comment because we've done, we've said, we've asked, and the former PS and Waiguru has given
Former CS.
Former CS. She has given us a submission. My request as a woman, you know, when you are seated there, it is actually the women leadership in Kenya that is in trial. I'm asking you kindly to use the opportunity when you are in the presence of this honorable committee to tell it the way it was, because we want everybody is watching, and actually now when you are there, it is all women who are there. So use this opportunity to clarify all.
That's completely out of order.
I'm sorry.
It's completely out of order.
Is it? I'm saying. I'm not saying. I'm
No,
not saying that. I'm not saying.
Honorable
I'm
Shebesh,
saying.
please. Honorable Shebesh, you
I'm
know,
saying
observe order in the
it,
committee.
you know, she's there. She wants to exonerate.
Madam Waiguru has sat here since morning.
Yes.
I've not heard her saying she's incapable of defending herself.
No, I'm not defending her.
Yes.
I'm saying I'm a woman in leadership. She's also a woman. I'm speaking on behalf of the rest. Kindly, for myself.
No.
Let me speak on behalf of myself.
Honorable Chai, you will not convert the committee into a forum for propagating gender issues. No.
Okay, Madam
Speak as a
former
committee member.
CS, may you use this chance that you have in the presence of the committee to speak on issues that actually are wanting. Mostly this, why the process of procurement was centralized, the initiation of the supplementary budget, and actually there was a misunderstanding between you and the CS. It is actually, it is the PS. It is seen. Mostly there is a time that you had a function that when I think the PS expected Mr. Ragut to be present, and then he was not there, but Mr. Mtai Ngunyi was present. And then there was even a communication from PS to Mtai Ngunyi to ask him why he was in the meeting, and when and also he communicated to Rugut to ask him where he was. That means there was a breakdown maybe of communication, maybe of your leadership style. That's why I'm saying those are the things that you need to set clear, because you are here, so that we know exactly what happened. There are emotions, there are notions, they can only be cleared by none other than you.
Thank you, Mr. Honorable Simbarati.
Thanc you, Chair.
Then Fatia, then you will answer those questions.
Chair, first of all, I want to say that yes, the former PSCS, Anna Waiguru, happened to be a good friend of mine. And indeed, I want to say that I did consult with our ministry in terms of development in my constituency, where I think the question that I want to ask you, that which criteria did you use when you knew very well, of course that one I had said it, when you knew very well Kawangware was a slum area, whereas the Great South was not a slum constituency, then you send your kuhut there to work there, and whereas that in my constituency, as a good friend,
well, yeah, Honorable Kalume is on a point
Chair,
of order.
thank you. Chair, we have the Public Accounts Committee is dealing with accounting for public funds. Really, let us not divert the mandate of this committee to it. Chair, there are so many issues we wanted to say in terms of the good work the committee is doing. I think we should not take time with those other issues before we deal with the core issue as to why you have such a critical witness before you.
Honorable Arati, I would
Thank
request.
you, Chair. I want to get back to.
No, I would request you just before you come on the mic, kindly let us deal with the issues before the accounts committee, and which is the issues of the monies which were lost, the procedural issues as to who gets. Even my constituency has not had cohorts, but I'm not bringing it here because this is the wrong forum to get it.
Chair, I was just responding to what initially had been insinuated.
Okay.
Therefore, and I want to.
She said sorry.
Right, that's right. But I want to take you back to your own document that you gave us. This document of allocation, in terms of allocation. If you check on Youth Development Initiative, which is 1.4 billion, and there is double entry on the same code behind, on it, it says also Youth Development Initiative 507. Would want just to, you educators, what is it? Because in the same code, different amounts in the same document, the one that you have.
Okay. Honorable Fatia, and then you'll answer. Please make your comments brief.
Yeah, I had written it earlier, a few maybe. Somehow the members had asked, but I'll still have to ask because I'm probably asking in a different direction. Madam Waiguru, let me acknowledge and also appreciate that you are heading a very huge ministry. But apparently, as we were meeting the witnesses, there were a lot of complaints. My question number one is, what leadership style were you using? Was it autocratic? Was it very authoritative? Because they would come here and they would even fear to talk. It was like as if you were ordering. Or were you even using democratic? I wouldn't know because, again, people started misusing their positions. That one you'll answer me. I had to ask this question, Mutahingunyi, that you benefited, you said you came up with a master plan that would change the lives of the youth. What happened? And knowing you're a senior citizen, citizen of Kenya, who is also an analyst, who writes very good articles in the papers. But then he said, at some time, you would even order him or even shout at him and tell him, it's not your work to fight corruption. So that one you'll clear with us. Secondly, I wanted to know, Githinji, with all the messes he's done right now, didn't the ministry or the authority who appoints, didn't they do a due diligence? Because I remember Mr. Rugut was here, and I understand that he was told and instructed again by you that he has to leave the office on a Sunday. I don't think it's human. I don't know what took you to that direction. Thirdly,
last question.
Unfortunately, again in the ministry, I don't know who is going to be liable for this, because we understand that the fictitious contractors were paid their LPOs at the site, at the quarry. It's very unfortunate, and it was being paid systematically. As they finish doing the work, they're being brought at the site, that is in Kibera. Lastly, under your ministry again, I'm sorry you are the CS, you're the CEO. Unfortunately, I think the intended purpose was not done, because I don't know how just a pen, a biro pen, was procured at 9,000 shillings. They had to also procure for condoms. I think the Ministry of Health is liable for condoms. They're given free of charge in the hospitals. I don't know why they had to do all this. Lastly, Mr. Harake.
You cannot have three lastlies, please.
Sorry. Harake. Sorry. Harake, as lucky as he was, his position had to be created from nowhere. Letters had to be written to the PSC. He had to be appointed, and I don't know why he did this. Writing zeros, if it was 15 million, if it was 1.5 million, he had to add another zero. Unfortunately, he'll have to suffer for this. I say that the intended purpose for all these billions were not met. There's still a lot of youth, even the ones in Mandera, are just idling, taking drugs, and right now they're even radicalized. Thank you.
Now, Madam former CS, I will request you, because of the interest in this matter, please try to make your answers as brief as possible. Of course, dealing with the substance, starting with the Honorable Kater, Honorable Abdikadir, Honorable Chai. Honorable Chai was more of a comment. She was actually on advocacy issues than anything else. Honorable Chimbarati.
I want you to remove that. It is not advocacy. I'm saying that it is women leadership. Kindly.
The chair is entitled to his opinion. The chair thought you were being an advocate.
Understand where I'm coming from and where Kenyan is coming from with the women leadership.
I'm also a beneficiary of the good people of Nyamira. Then Honorable Fatia, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The first question was on Rogut, and I answered that question in the morning. And I said I had absolutely no role in transferring Rogut, and the documentations are there. And I think I responded in that manner. I don't think I will make any effort to convince Alfred Keter. I think our history is known in the country. On the second issue...
Some of us do not know that history.
Yeah, I'm innocent on that.
The second question is from Honorable Abdi on the mood and style. Was it autocratic?
No, Chair. There is something that on the first question, Madam, and you allow me 1 minute. You explained to us scenarios which happened in 9th May, 10th May, 11th May of 2014. And when was Githinji sworn in? Which date? The same Sunday when the Prime Minister from China was, it was an official function in NYS premises. That it was Githinji acting on as an acting Director General, which was on 13th.
Okay, you've made your point.
Yeah, for the record purposes, is it the correct position of Honorable Kittel that he knew of the scheme 1 year before? Because I think that is what he said before. You know, when it came now to write this report, we're going to depend on the information that we have. And you remember when you started giving this information, you said you knew of the scheme 1 before it took place. Is that the position you want to
make
state?
clarification, Chair? What I said...
On a point of order, Chair, I just want to say to Mheshimiwa Keter, in the interest of time, yesterday this committee spent a lot of time with Engineer Mangiti, questioning him on the issue of the transfer between Rugut and Githinji. And we scrutinized and cross-examined and asked him every minute to the last day on the Sunday how one showed up and one didn't show up. So I think...
leave that. Let me leave at that. But on this other issue that he raised, about the 1 year. Okay. What I've said, Chair, and I want to clarify, because I'm on record, is that I even went public saying that there is a scheme to do corruption in National Youth Service. Immediately, Rugut was sacked. There was no transfer. The transfers were actually made after we made noise. And I remember Honorable Badi saying that some of these documents might have been cooked. Some of the memos, letters, we need to do...
She has heard you, Honorable Keter.
Thank you.
She has heard you. Please carry on.
Honorable Chair, on the issue of the mood, on the style, I think I have addressed the issue of whether the documents are cooked. I think it's uncomfortable for some people that those documents exist because they change many facts, but the fact of the matter is that they do exist, and sometimes the truth is uncomfortable, but the truth is the truth. Now, on the mood and the style, autocratic, was I autocratic? Not at all.
The mode.
As I have said, mood.
Mode. He's talked of the mode and the style. Mode and style.
Mode.
You allowed us to the mode, yes.
Okay, mode. And the mode of the style. Mode.
And style.
Actually, the type, okay.
This is Honorable Abdi's question, and I will tie it together, Mheshimiwa's, because it's the same question. Was I autocratic? No, I wasn't. In fact, you can just tell by my correspondences. The fact that I actually tell someone, you go check. In fact, if you read all the attachments, there's one I actually went on leave. And I left the PS and said, I have gone on leave from this day to this day.
Madam former CS, yesterday, let me just explain, please. Yesterday, a member, and I'm not afraid to say, the member for Bomachoge Borabu said that when he had a crisis in his constituency and he came to see you, you chased him out of your office. Honorable Nyancha was here, and it's on record, and he's a member of this committee.
That's fine, Honorable Member. As I said, there are many emotions around me right now for various reasons.
That was then.
And let me finish. And the point is, Honorable Chair, that we cannot take somebody else's word for what it is without evidence, and yet me, I'm not allowed to do the same. I mean, even me, I can say, I met with Honorable Gumbo and you've been extremely rude to me. That is a statement. I mean, is that a fact? Not necessarily, unless it has happened. You know, I can say that me and Keter don't get along, and actually he insulted me on the corridors once. I can say that. I can say that here. I can say that outside there. But it did happen. I don't know. So I think you told us to leave our emotions outside and let us dwell on the facts. And I think we are here to interrogate the PSC report on matters of finance. Let us stick to it. Not whether someone thinks I treated them nicely or not nicely, whether they didn't like my face. Some people, even when they're not frowning, you can think they're frowning. And so when you look at them, you will say this person frowned at me, and maybe they were not. Maybe they were even smiling. So let's leave the issues of expressions and let us dwell on the matter. The question on the mood and the style, I have said, I'm not one to lie. I will not say the relationship was bad. In fact, by the time there was the first reshuffle of PSs, I kept saying, and many people can be my witness, that PS Mangiti is the best PS in the country. I've said it many times. He's extremely efficient and was extremely efficient. Our relationships went south after this NYS saga happened. And I have said that. I will not lie that he was a nasty person or he's this. That I will not do. I don't think it's beneficial to anybody. Those who want to come and sit here because a puppet has told them when you sit here, whatever it is you say and Waiguru. And let me tell you, everybody in this country knows. We know social media is activated by individuals and they pay for it. So even if you see a trending of Hang and Waiguru, somebody has paid for it last night and they are paying university students or whoever, we already know. But the point of the matter is that Kenyans are not deceived. They have been watching this live TV today, they have watched yesterday, they've watched the day before. They are hearing the facts for what they are, and the truth can never be hidden. So on the matter of the mood and the style and being autocratic, I don't think I was. And I think we worked very well together until, other than the usual normal, in every institution, even in a marriage, you will have a disagreement here and there with your spouse, however much you love each other. And that is common even in institutions. But to say we had a frosty relationship, no. Was I autocratic? No. Are there things I disagreed with? Yes, and firmly so. Especially on this matter, and that's why even if they did not want a CID, I read right and I say, because at the end of the day I will be asked if I know, I wrote and asked for the CID to investigate. Now, if it made people angry and so that they can now change and say I'm the most horrible person in the world, that is really up to them. But also you should ask yourself, since apparently Rogut was removed because I really liked DG and I brought him, yet that same DG who came and sat here can't stand me. I mean, should tell you that in government is not about whether you like somebody or don't like someone. I think people are deployed according to the government mechanisms. I did not hire Rogut. I did not hire the DG. I think the documents have been provided to show that they were hired or they were posted and deployed according to government procedure. Now, on the issue of policing and the issue of instructions, I think the minutes I have put in there will tell you how we interacted. There are meetings that we had together, and in those meetings, there are decisions that are made, and those minutes are signed by everybody. Where the PS was in the meeting, he signed it. Where he was not, whoever was representing him in the meeting signed the minutes, including the people who take from NYS and also the people who take the minutes. And the documents are with you, and everybody has a copy, including the instructions of Felici. And if you will be honest, he will tell you it was in relation to the projects of NYS, because it was in February, when we could not account for why the cost variations. We said you need to take time to sit down and write your report. So we're going to give you a week first off your normal duties. Prepare substantive reports, and it's minuted, and the minutes are with you. So on the matter of Felici, no, I do not wake up from my desk to go and look for junior officers to give them instructions. As a matter of fact, I would do it according to procedure. However, it doesn't mean that you don't talk to any junior officer. You can talk to junior officers. You can even ask them, what do you think is going on? How come it is not moving? That is, you can have that conversation. But, and you can give instructions. It's not, by the way, it's not illegal to give an instruction to a junior officer. It's just that was there a method of working. We worked according to government procedures, and I have been a civil servant for very many years, so I understand the procedures. On the issue of GPay and IFMIS, invoice entry, if you look at the IFMIS, especially on the issue of the payments, the first entry, you can get that information either from the headquarter IFMIS National Treasury. They can give you the information of who entered, because the auditors have, and the auditors are here, they have access to the system. They can give you all that information you want, who actually approved, who validated, who was the auditor who said it is okay, who actually paid for the actual transfer to the Treasury, who in the GPay paid across. That information is not deletable, and the people from audit and from treasury can tell you that. And that's why they're able to do audit. Once you have entered transactions in the IFMI system, you can't delete them. You can change the instructions, but it will say that Anne Waiguru, on 20th of October at 6 p.m., change this number from 6 to this. If I go back and return it, it keeps that record. That's why the auditor will be able to tell you that some transactions happened at night. He's not saying it from his head. He has it in the system, and the printouts can show. If the experts in the IFMIS and the IFMIS department and the auditors, they know how to get the information. And on this matter, Mheshimiwa, on the issue of who paid, you can't say an individual did and you haven't seen. In the system, it shows this person entered with this password. This person validated with this password. This person authorized, and their signatures countersigned on the physical documents. So it's not a story of saying, I think Anne was involved, or I think Githinji was, or I think Harake. The actual footprints, we call footprints, are undeletable in the system. Once you have entered, that system cannot be tampered with. It keeps the record for life until you back up and remove, and I don't think the government does that. I think they do it maybe after the data has been there for over 10 to 15 years. So the information is there, and I think, Honorable Abdi, if you ask the IFMIS department, they have experts who can be able to provide for you, including the names. Then on the issue of
the value for money with the consultancy house.
Mutahi, not your role to fight corruption. Again, I answered that question in the morning. I said that same Mutahi, you have found had a double payment of 12 million shillings, which is an irregular payment. How is it that he's the one advising me on corruption? He should have first said whether he reported.
No, but
me.
I think you're not being correct here. Mutai didn't pay himself. The ministry paid him.
That's fine, but even if he'd paid himself, the money came to you. If you opened your bank account today, Honorable Chair, and you found that you had 10 million shillings from the Ministry of Devolution and Planning, the normal practice, if you are not receiving any payment, you would actually raise a flag and say, I have received money that is not mine. This issue actually, until the auditors picked it, no one had actually said it, and it's one of the audit queries. So my issue on Mutahi, I take him with a pinch of salt. Not everything that he says is completely true. On the issue of condoms, I think I raised...
sorry to disrupt you. I really didn't intend to. This is a house of records. And I just want, you probably have the opportunity now for you to put your word into record. That you are not the person who went and... We might agree with some of your sentiments with regards to integrity and issues like that with regards to that payment. But we just, because this is a house of record, it is in record that you asked, you went out there, grabbed this guy's hand, brought him into this whole thing, and that the fact that he happened to be the person doing it, the whole job, is because of you. What do you say about it?
No, it is not. It is not because of me. I'm not involved in procurement. I'm not the one who sourced him. We've had conversations before with Mutahi, and even now he continues to work for that same government and other government departments. So no, the answer for me is no.
Honorable Mbadi, point of order.
I haven't
Mr. Chairman, Madam Anne Waiguru has come here to deny anything, to deny role in anything. Mutai Nguni told us that she was called from your office, that you called him, that you made him aware that there was work. And by the way you worked so closely with Mutai Nguni, Madam Anne Waiguru, you cannot tell us that you don't know how he found his way into your organization. He told us clearly there was no procurement, there was nothing like he tendered, there was no advert in the newspaper. So how did he get to know that there was work in your ministry? There was communication. In fact, he referred to it as probably there was communication between the 4th floor and the 11th floor. And it is your office, and it is you who called him to actually come and participate in the activities of the ministry.
But if I may help you, he said that 4th floor called 11th floor, and 11th floor called me. 4th floor happens to be where, you know who sits in 4th floor? Well, that's what he said. The 4th floor must be, is it the cabinet?
There was a ministry I'd worked with earlier, which is the Interior Ministry.
And
so the Ministry of Interior, according to him,
Yes.
must have informed the Ministry of Devolution
Yes.
that Mutai Ngunyi is a good worker or a good consultant in this country. But for him to work in your ministry, you are the one who called him. If you are not the one, we would expect you to tell us, because you worked with this man very closely, by the way, on this program.
And you're seen
so you
with
should
him
have
many
known how
times.
this person was procured. You know, we didn't come here for you to entertain us with a lot of English word. There was even a question that I asked earlier, Mr. Chairman, and she deliberately ignored it. I asked you a question of when did this matter become public? When did you report to CID? No, you didn't say the timing. Can you tell us when this matter first became public? And when you took this matter to CID? And who first? Because you first told us you're the one who informed the CID. Later in your answer, and I was very keen, you told us it was Harake. Actually, you were only coming in to help Harake because there was interference from CPS. Why are you telling us stories that contradict each other? And then you want to tell the whole country and the whole world, by the way, your aim is to play PR with the media so that you come out here like you really clarified matters.
He's on a point
You
of
can't,
order.
I'm on a point of
He's on
order.
a
If you
point
want
of
to be
order.
on a point of
He's
order,
on
you
a
wait and
point of order.
finish.
Please let him
So,
finish.
Mr. Chairman, let the CS not leave this place thinking that she came out so well, because there are a lot of contradictions in her statements.
Yeah.
Just so that
I'll give you, honorable member for Nairobi, I'll give
just
you,
so
relax.
That just so that we keep to objectivity, Mheshimiwa. But you know, I asked the CS these questions repeatedly because there is what is before us factually. The issue of this fellow called Ngunyi, Mutai Ngunyi, was single-sourced by the director of NYS. It is in our records. He wrote a letter to say he is single-sourced it. He wrote the letter to the PS. The PS sent it to the Ministerial Tender Committee. Just let me, I'm coming
No,
to the point.
Chairman, we cannot sit here. We cannot, by the way, there are no emotions here. We are even more emotional with Kavura than today. Today we are very lenient with, you cannot, Mutai Ngunyi was here, we were all here.
No.
He said, these others were just actualizing what should have happened.
Mheshimiwa Badi, you should know what I'm.
But why are you
what
sanitizing
point,
this?
What point I'm getting to?
Please, honorable
The point
members.
I'm getting to is that everybody who sat here, you know, at the end of the day, we have to be guided by what is in record.
Yeah.
Everybody who sat here said that Madam Waiguru is the person who ordered for that guy to be there. This is the opportunity we have before us. We need to ask her to clarify that point for us.
No, but
That is
you see,
what we must do.
please, honorable members, please. Why would anyone not agree with what Mutai Ngunyi himself said? The answered records are here. Mutai Ngunyi himself said please. When I asked Mutai Ngunyi, floors don't call people. Who called you from 11th floor? He said Madam Waiguru called him. And he said that the rest were just formalization. He started working long before even the contract was signed. That's what he said. Why, if Mutai Ngunyi says he was appointed before the contract was there, why would anyone else dispute it? Member for Nairobi, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Chair. And I have a lot of respect for this committee, Chair. And there is nothing better in our system, in our democracy, than when issues are called out for public good, you appear before a parliamentary committee. Because we have been elected, Chair, and this committee is really respected. Chair, my only concern, and I'm asking you, Chair, because also as an individual, you know how much I respect you, to please ask the members to give Madam Waiguru the opportunity to respond to the questions that are being asked.
I hear you.
Honorable Chair, please.
I hear you.
With all due respect.
I hear you.
She is asking for nothing else. You summoned her here, Chair. She has responded. She did not take 3 times, like did with the other lady, who you had to ask for a warrant of arrest for her to appear here.
I hear you.
She is the witness here, Chair, and according to the standing orders, which you know, she has the right of reply.
Okay.
Please allow her to put her issues on Hansard.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hear you. Thank you. Madam Waiguru, please conclude. Honorable Kaluma, I know your hands has been up. Honorable Bunyasi, I'll give all of you a chance. Madam Waiguru, please conclude so that we can take up those. I am actually seeing on this side. That's why I gave the member for Nandi Hills and I gave the member for Kibwesi. Relax, the chair is not blind. Relax, the member for Nyaribari. Relax, Nyaribari Chache, relax. Please, you must learn to relax. It's also a sign of leadership.
I'm a friend to the committee. I thought I should be given preference.
A friend to the committee gets last priority. I am. Madam Waiguru.
Honorable Chair, I did not recruit the consulting house. Did we work well together? Yes, like I did even with the PSs. I did not recruit them. Even the officers you find in the government, you work with them. You don't necessarily have to be the one who recruit them to work with them. Now I have responded. Unfortunately, somebody wants me to say that I'm the one. Now, if I've said I'm not the one, I'm not the one. Now, if somebody else says I am, and me I say I'm not, my record is that I'm not. Their record is that I am. So I think I'll leave it at that. The issue of the CID, I will repeat because I was told I glossed over. I think I responded, maybe you didn't hear, and I'll repeat. Harake said his password was stolen. The day he told me the password was stolen, I told him, call CID. There is a correspondence on 26th May, I'm lucky to have had the letter, that they wrote from the National Youth Service to the Director of Criminal Investigations. All these documents are there. You know, there's too much stories out there. So we mix up what we have heard and read on social media and everywhere, and the newspaper, and the actual facts. He wrote on 26th May to the Director of Criminal Investigation on unauthorized access to the IFMIS. According to his statement, the next time I met him about 4 or 5 days later, I asked him, what did the CID say? He said that when I called these people and they came, I was told to tell them to go away. His words. And I don't like to repeat other people's words because that is his report. And he can also speak for himself. I was told to let them go away, we'll deal with the matter departmentally. Then I called CID. So there's no contradiction. And the letter that I wrote to Mr. Ndegwa Mohoro, 5th June 2015, is also right here. I have both letters. It was not calling by phone, we actually wrote. And this is in the affidavit. We've submitted it, and we also submitted this as statements both at EACC, because as you know, this matter has been under investigation by almost all the bodies in government. So that's that, and I think I responded to that issue. On the issue of
This priority, yeah, pen costing 9,000. Did you do a caution to give a memo?
I already said about that issue. That asset register was withdrawn. I believe it was deliberately brought, that is what I believe, me as Anne, that it was deliberately brought to this committee to cause the uproar that it did in the media so that they can continue pushing that agenda of pushing me out of office. Immediately, it was brought here. It was withdrawn that same day by the then PS, saying that it was the wrong register. So there was no such thing, and there was no biro that cost 8,000 shillings. And I think the ministry now, if you ask them, they can give you the correct asset register. That register was a fake register, and in my view, it was intended to tarnish my reputation. That is my view.
Okay,
but they withdrew it. They don't say it is, but my view is that it was. Not that that is the fact, but they withdrew it. And I think they were to submit another asset register.
Okay, please, I now want us to finish because personally, I think we have had enough. I'll go to Honorable Manje, Honorable Bunyasi, Honorable Sele Kaluma, Honorable Kariuki, and then Honorable Meli. And then we'll take the last round.
Yeah, Chair, mine are very simple.
If your question has been answered, please. Honorable Manje, Honorable Bunyasi, Honorable Sele, Honorable Kaluma, Honorable Kariuki, and then Honorable Meli.
So, Madam, I want to ask you a question on this table, the one that you gave us on where zeros were added. I wanted to ask, if the zeros were not added, was there business that was done? Were these vouchers without zeros correct? Two, you said in the infamous process, before one is paid, there are those 7 steps, validation and all, and the auditors. Are you able to give us the names of these people who authorized the addition of these zeros? And the last one is, why should you keep maybe office document in your personal file? Were you expecting there will be a problem in the future? Because the memos that you're getting, you got them from your personal file somewhere.
And you can remind her of the problems Mrs. Clinton is having in America. Anyway, Honorable Bunyas.
Thank you, Chair. I want to revisit this question. It's been raised over and over, but since we may not have a chance to sit with Madam Waiguru, I think it's better.
No. You are thinking ahead for the chair. No one has said this is our last appearance here.
Absolutely, I stand corrected and guided. The totality of the witnessing that we have had so far has been that, and this goes back a bit to issues of style. You're goal-driven, which is a great thing. You're eager to achieve results, but that in the process, you found some of the processes inconvenient. They were slowish, the procuring processes were slow and so on. Decision-making was slow and sluggish, to a point where you felt frustrated that people were probably even sabotaging the program because it wasn't moving forward. Now, in that atmosphere, people who have been here, witnesses before, have put to us that in fact, there's an element of fear in the system, that if anybody came up, or people came up, they said an army, they kept saying an army of advisors, meaning the team that you brought in, call it an army. What they said was taken to be truthful, not only because you said it, but that the implication, it was sort of exactly directives were carrying. Now, none of it is written, and it's not about which section of the law they were or not following. It's the atmosphere they are describing. I think it's incumbent upon you to dislodge that, because certainly that wasn't an atmosphere for good decision-making on this chair. And I think just as I conclude, we are dealing with a situation in which, unlike other, in terms of quantum, billions have been lost in other ministries and so on. But in terms of how this was done, essentially causing monies to be released from the ministry and cutting it away in bags, it makes it a bit unusual. And I think you should also go out of your way, and I know you're attempting to do some of that perhaps, to help us to get the bottom of this, because this is unusual. And in fact, if this is not unusual, if it's normal, then we're really in deep trouble, because this is a strange normality. Just a comment.
Make it brief, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'll make it very brief. Former CS, gracious Lady Anne, by coincidence, we have a document here that the PS did prepare according to his memo as per your instruction, and that was not disputed. Then this document, by coincidence, gives us a total of 1.635 billion, a figure near what went through one Josephine Kabura's accounts, which was 1.67 billion according to the documents we saw yesterday. Having been one of the most powerful CSS in the government then, do you now believe that a lot of money was lost through a project that you zealously participated in? And I liked the zeal with which you took to the street with gumboots and even invited the president. It was something good for the youths of this county. And if you now believe that money was lost, what do you tell the youths of Kenya? That every conceivable project geared towards them turns to a cash cow. Do they give up? Do they take up to the seat or die trying? Finally, most of the documents, especially the ones going to one Mangiti, the former PS, are not signed. Maybe our advocates can advise us to their admissibility, but most of them are not signed, and we may not establish whether they were received on the other side. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Kaluma.
Chair, thank you so much. Chair, let me start first by commending the committee for the good work. Chair was in Mombasa yesterday, And the people who spoke to me were asking why we are not the court of law. In fact, they were very happy. So I would pray you keep the apolitical, impartial attitude I've seen in the committee. Chair, in fairness, I wanted to draw the committee's attention to what is at page 20 of Madam Waiguru's submissions. Chair, at the 4th paragraph, there are mentions of Kinisu. Chair, I'm only saying this because in line with our prayers before we deal as members of parliament, you have to be fair to everybody. There is the mention there that Kinisu was confirmed to have done something beyond any reasonable doubt. Chair, if we remember, Mr. Kinisu resigned well before we debated, and if you remember the report that was even to come to the committee, there was a dissent by over 9 people. I want to confirm, Chair, that as a member of that committee, this firm finding was never found. And maybe just in fairness to him, because he has no chance in these particular proceedings, to request, Madam Waiguru, we understand the context in which the name was coming. I think we withdraw such specific mentions. Chair, in terms of question, may I ask the CS what she understood to be the scope or the full remit of the executive order coming for the President about the cabinet secretaries being, in charge of ministries, and more so on matters accounting. How far does it allow a CS to intervene on those functions which ordinarily, without that executive order, would be, the functions of the PS? Is critical for your investigation.
Madam's former CS, I think you need to note down that because it's a concern addressed.
Yes.
What you understood by the executive order from the President on your remit with matters finance and procurement.
Yes. Chair, the third question I wanted to raise has been raised by Mr. Sele, but I think it is a matter for really your legal, secretary to advise. And I know several of letters, more so in terms of memos, which come from Madam Waiguru to the Director General, the then Director General Nelson Githinji and PS Mangiti. A number are not signed, a number are not received. When we are in a situation where we have the memo from Betty Maina copied to the CS and the CS is saying she did not receive it, I think your lawyer need to advise, on the status and admissibility of those documents. But Chair, in terms of my question, could I request Madam to go to this, I don't know what it is called, this communication thing, and this is important for me. Chair, if you look at the communication entries, you see them having a lot of details, particularly the phone numbers, the ID numbers. You will see also the name of the person. And Chair, one thing you pick is that this was a targeted, undertaking to pick, particular people, because it is not telling you everybody, in terms of the communication coming from a gadget between people. So that, Chair, you should not find it strange that you don't see any communication between the PS and the CS. And so that you should not find it strange that you don't see the CS talking to any of these people. With those limitations, Chair, how far do we go to confirm the admissibility of this document? I think it is something for the committee to consider. But lastly, Chair, in terms of question, there is this one memo which came from the PS, the memo of 20th February 2015, and it is very important for me for the work you're doing. Chair, the PS says, as per your instructions. And Chair, at the tail end, the CS says, the PS tells the CS, we are remitting to you the documents as per your instructions for your approval and signature if you concur. For your approval and signature if you concur. So that if a budget request by way of a supplementary request is going to the Treasury, Cabinet Secretary, the Cabinet Secretary has approved it and concurs. And by the way, it's a unique situation where this letter is coming from the CS as having been, delivered to her. Two questions only I want to ask. What did the CS have to give these instructions, because it is fundamental. This is a 3.5 billion from where the money under investigation is coming from. So I imagine, Chair, that the agency in need will be, sending some need and request. And Chair, lastly, in terms of the approval and concurrence that the PS was signifying, the CS has to give, what does the CS or did the CS need to effect the approval and concur by signing as requested? Yeah, because Chair, I'm saying this because a table has been brought here. I imagine these are the tables which came up in terms of, the documents which were being processed under instructions. What did the CS and what would a CS need to approve a request more so for a supplementary budget? And what did she have to, sign this letter we saw over leave for the 3.5 billion to be requested through the CS Treasury and to be approved by Parliament? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Honorable Kariuki.
Thank you, Chair. I'll keep mine brief and straight to the point. Madam Waiguru, I'd like to remind you you're under oath, and also for the purposes of this house being a house of records and that we are on national TV, did you participate in any way in the theft at NYS? Number two, were you a beneficiary in any way of any of the proceeds of the said theft at NYS? Thank you, Bwana Chair.
Thank you, thank you. I wish everybody could be like Honorable Kariuki. Honorable Kariuki, you have the Chair's commendation for being brief and to the point. Yeah, which is untypical of young people like you. But Honorable Meli, and then you answer.
Thank you, Chair. I also want to commend the former CS for her achievements, especially the accolades she earned when for the country at that during her stint at the ministry. I have two questions. That one, that we know the police made you a witness and not a suspect. That is in record. Can you give us some of the reasons and why they did so? And two, that you are a suspect, that you are a witness. The NYS saga is a very big saga in this country. Can you briefly tell this committee, because we are trying to unravel the mystery. Briefly tell us how we can unravel this mystery once and for all. Three, on the supplementary budget, the officers who came here yesterday and one of your peers and even the directors attested to this committee that they were not part of the supplementary budget, but it only emanated from your office. And immediately this money hit the devolution ministry, it disappeared. What's the connection? Thank you.
Madam former CS, before you answer, I've just noticed a major omission. The documents you submitted do not have your signature. For them to be admitted, you will have to take one copy and sign and initialize all pages. Just one copy for the chairs. All the documents at the end of this. Tungo, if you can ensure that. And then that at least one copy for our record, so that it is authenticated that you indeed submitted those documents, and also indicate the date, today's date. Please proceed to answer the question, starting with the question from the Honorable Manje, member for Kajiado North, followed by the Honorable Bunyasi, member for Nambale, followed by the Honorable Peter Kaluma, member for Homa Bay. Honorable Sele, member for Kabondo Kasipol, Honorable Peter Kaluma, member for Homa Bay, Honorable Kariuki, member for Madare, and Honorable Meli, member for Tinderet. And I think, honorable members, that will be the end. I will make my final remarks, and then that will be the end. Member for Nyaribari Chache?
That is there, then I can answer.
Sorry. No, we'll do the last round, don't worry. We'll do the last round. Please.
Since mine is just one, maybe I can as well ask so that we can save on time.
Okay.
Mine first is to thank Madam Waiguru for doing a good job for the country during your tenure. Very many good things you achieved for this country, and we are proud of you. However, in the course of your tenure in the ministry, there are a number of issues which came up. One such is about the scandal of NYS. And knowing how focused and hardworking you are, maybe you can do a service to the country and help go an extra mile and explain or even help the country to, instead of wasting resources and time, help us to uncover the truth behind NYS. If you have any information, you can do that in camera, you can do it in whichever way that you think you can do as a patriotic person who has gone out of your way to serve this country. And again, we want to tell you that you are not a victim, you are not accused of anything at the moment. You are only a witness, and whatever you say is actually in the interest of serving this country. Thank you.
Do you say, Mr. Chairman, that is the last?
No.
I think we should.
I'll do the last round, which will be Honorable Busiri and my vice chair, and then the chair. Honorable Mbadi, you have spoken. Anyway, answer the questions, Madam Waiguru. You want to sleep in this room? The vice chair will step in kidogo as I stretch my legs. Start with the question for the member for Kajiado, no?
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair. There was a question on if the zeros were not added, can I ascertain that work was done? I can't. I think that would have to be ascertained by the people at the NYS. Me as an individual, I cannot do that because there are ways to verify. The only thing is that you can tell even if the work was done, it did not cost 791. The second issue is names of unauthorized people, as in getting business. I think we discussed this. This was a fraud. And so you can't say that the ministry took a shortcut because it was not a ministry decision.
No, I was asking those who authorized the payment in the IFMIS.
Can you find them?
Do you have them? Do you have their names, those who authorized the 7 steps?
Okay, those names, I think the people...
I thought we had agreed that when you will be giving us a new version of the table, you will include those officers who did the authorization.
Yes, can I say yes, we can give the names, but I will still have to ask for them from the members sitting here. The audit team actually can get the information for you from the system. They can go into the system and give you a printout.
All right.
Of, because there's nowhere else I'd get the system. I'd have to go and ask for it myself, and I doubt that they will give. I can attempt.
Honorable members, we already have the payment for just anyway, so we know who authorized what.
The genuine...
Just continue.
Okay. Then there was the issue of a personal file. Actually, it's not really a personal file. It was a file that had a certain executive brief that by coincidence had certain attachments. So there are some of those that you keep because you kept a record for your own sake because of the nature of the executive brief. Then the 2 was the issue of the sluggish process from Honorable Bunyasi, that maybe that we were slow, and I mean, I was fast and they were slow, and therefore they found a way around it. I think I've responded to this question in other ways very many times. This was not a normal...
That is why he said in his opening remarks that I know this is a question that has been asked severally, but
I'll respond very quickly.
Yeah.
This was not a normal process. This was not a process authorized by the ministry. This was a fraud. And this fraud was not carried out through the Ministry of Devolution and Planning processes. As I showed earlier, the circular letter that they used as a tender document was from Supplies Branch. Right. And I gave the reference of the audit report. So it was not a ministry, from the ministry using the ministry procedures. What they did is that they did that and then they went and did the LPUs. It's a strange abnormality, yes, I said that. I mean, who would have known? If it wasn't that we reported this particular one, we probably would never have found out that there was a 791 issue, though we had already seen, and I have demonstrated that we had seen concerns about costs. And now looking back, you can actually tie those concerns to the loss of this money. Figure in the table, can we say that the 1.6 that is on the table, where is the honorable member? He has gone.
Yeah, just respond to it.
Okay, the 1.6 in the table is the same amount of money that was stolen. I think if you look at this table, the 1.6 is NYS. The money that was stolen was not just NYS. There was NYS 791, then there is the 800 that was from the State Department of Planning. So you cannot impute, like say this is the money that was stolen. Then he asked a question, do we then give up? Since every project that is intended for the youth ends up in one scandal or another. I'm glad he asked that question because then that shows you it's not unique to the NYS. We had the same major crisis with the Kazi kwa Vijana program previously during the coalition government, but we cannot give up. And the program, even in NYS right now, is proceeding. It has had its hiccups, but we owe it to this country to continue delivering on the mandates of the people that have actually elected us. And I say that for anyone who is in elected office or for those who are serving under the elected leadership in a government. On the issue of Kinisu, I did not say money was lost. I gave an example of establishing ownership. I said you could tell there was no issue I said about money lost at all. I just said to establish ownership with regard to directorship. It was not lost.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 5, not letters received and signed. Allow me, Honorable Chair, to say this. I don't know why when I am the one who provides documents, they are doubted, but when other people provide, they are accepted. And I think I want that in the Hansard, so I will repeat. I don't know why that when it's me who's provided the documents, they are doubted. Oh, how sure are we they are the correct? How sure are we they are not forged? But when other people provide and say this document was sent to you, nobody actually believes.
That's not right.
Why don't you allow her to finish?
I'm saying that because
yesterday we had that problem
yes.
of doubting letters.
We doubted
sent by the PS.
your
If they are
former
genuine,
PS.
that is a position we've been taking.
We did doubt
Just for
the presentation. Yeah.
To know that other
Yeah.
people are doubted.
Yeah, we
The reason
doubted,
I
we
was
doubted,
saying that
yeah.
is because I'm given reference to the other documents. You can actually verify with the files in government, they are folioed, they are in the registries, and if anyone wants to confirm whether the documents are there, you can find, but I also confirm that I will provide another letter to show that the PS wrote to DG following mine, which should serve as a confirmation that he did receive that particular memo. Then, on the communication chat, Honorable Kaluma, that it was very strange and I'm not there. That communication chat, if you notice, is for Ben Gethi. It is not for everybody. It was for Ben Gethi. Who does Ben Gethi relate with?
Okay.
And if it went beyond, it was, is there anyone he relates with that relates to someone else? So if you didn't show up, and this is done, by the way, not by us, it's done by CID, just to show you that they do the investigations, you can ask them to run the same for me and Kafura. You can ask for Kafura and someone else, and they'll provide this information. And if they provided the information, you'll be able to tell who talks to who. Even in this room, they can actually run a query. It's a system. You can run a query to ask whether my PA here talks to anyone in Parliament, for example, and you'll be given just that. So it's a normal investigative output. This particular one was for Ben Gethi, and the reason it was attached in my, please note, it was attached in my affidavit in response to Kafura's affidavit was because it served the purpose of me explaining about what I said about Ben Gethi. So, and I attached my affidavit, and therefore I attached the attachment.
Yeah, pardon, Chair. Chair, you know, my concern is that if you look at this communication, ideally, even assuming they were just Ben Gethi, are you saying that on Ben Gethi's phone, only these few people are the people he talks to? What I'm saying is that this was a purposive phone audit, searching whether Ben Gethi has spoken with particular people, not the entire communication on Ben Gethi's phone. And that is why I was saying, being that purposive and selective, there is a possibility that it is not giving us the whole picture. And so mine was to the committee to get really to interrogate, this thing beyond in terms of credibility and the reach of it.
Actually, my understanding of the question is raising also, and I think it's an important one, is that the communication is filtered for a purpose. That is the message he's trying to put on record.
Honorable Chair, I think the committee, as you said, has the powers of the High Court. You can summon the relevant institutions and ask them to filter for you the information that you require to tell you what it is that you want. As I said, it's not generated by me. I attached it in my affidavit response to explain what I was saying in the affidavit.
Please proceed.
On the budget again, and the issue of the approval, I will respond by also asking another question. Approvals at different levels. There was the sentence Honorable Kaluma said where the PS writes to me and says that if you are, for your consideration and signature, if you approve, for my approval, and I sign. I also write to the Treasury for their approval to give me the budget. So if you apply the issue of approval, we'll have to go all the way. So approval by the minister, approval by the CS Treasury, approval by the Budget Committee. Now let me go a step further and say the issue is never the budget allocation. The issue is the expenditure of the budget allocated. Because the budget allocated is allocated according to this chart. And so unless you're saying that there shouldn't have been money allocated at all in this chart, you cannot impute the issue of allocation to tie it to the loss, unless you can demonstrate there's a deliberate linkage between the allocation or request of the resources and the loss of the money. And as I said earlier, again, this committee sits guided by those laws that I was read for in the morning, and I'm sure the laws will apply.
Pardon,
on
Chair.
the issue of, on the issue of...
What is it, Honorable Kaluma?
This to me, I think, sits at the heart of the investigation by the committee, this particular memo. And the question I asked is, the PS is telling the CS, as per your instructions, I'm forwarding the following documents. Then the PS is saying, for your approval and signature, if you concur. If you remember, Chair, the question I was asking was, what did the CS, being that this is a document it is herself who brought, have to instruct the PS to come up with the documentation being forwarded? Number two, what does and did the document, did the PS have in terms of documentation to approve the documents then that are sent to her by the PS as the CS to forward to the Cabinet Secretary? I'm asking what information or documents you had, not the procedure of approvals, that we know.
Honorable Chair, I think we've exhausted the issue of this budget issue. I think we've shown attachments. I think we've discussed about the 5-point plan. I think we've discussed all. In my view, I don't think there's anything else I can add beyond that on the budget. And please, I will request to just leave the question at that, because I don't know what else to say.
I think...
Let her move on.
Please. I think it's important. Madam former CS, what does for your on concurrence mean now? Would that mean that you verify a few things before you sign?
My concurrence means, do you agree we should ask for a revised budget from the Treasury? That is what the concurrence means.
Not verifying anything?
No.
Okay, carry on.
Honorable Chair, there was a question on from Madare. Did you participate in the theft or did you benefit? I will say it categorically. I did not participate in the theft of the NYS. 2, I did not benefit in any way from the theft of NYS. Number 7, police called me a witness. Why? I think it's because I wrote the letter calling the CID to investigate, if I understand correctly. After the investigation, someone needs to go to court to say where did it come from, the way I understand it. But I may not be right, or I may be right, but again, that is a question you can actually address to them. They would be better off to tell you why I'm a prosecution witness. Number 8, what do I know about the NYS and how can I help unravel? If I would want to go on camera, I think I have said everything that I needed to say in front of the cameras. I have absolutely nothing else to add. I think I've been very categorical in as far as what I know. And the information also is before you. We have been following these procedures, and I think processes, and we know that you have the information that is required to make the right decision.
Okay, fine, thank you. I will quickly. Honorable Bosire, Honorable Mbadi, Honorable Bosire, Honorable Mbadi, Honorable Abdikadir, Vice Chair, and then the Chairman, and then I think we'll wind it up. We've been here.
Mr. Chairman, the question I'm asking, she can choose to answer, she can choose not to answer. I would like to put it that way because part of it she has answered on the element of witness. That is what I had also. It has got to do with perception. It took quite an effort and a struggle, and especially from the public, for Madam CS to finally resign. There was that perception also that the appointing authority was reluctant that you were resigning. But one can appreciate that as you were a new member of the cabinet, for the short time you served this country, you demonstrated capacity, which at one time as we interacted in the Committee of Finance, we had the opportunity to tell you that actually you are performing. But when these things unfolded, the struggle that the public took to push you to resign made people to believe that you were a protected CS. That is the perception. Hence, your translation from what was perceived that you were a culprit, culpable for that matter, and they changed to a state witness. Since we are addressing this matter, and it is a public investigation, and the whole world is watching, what will be your view regarding this perception and what probably some of the Kenyans hold concerning you?
Thank you, Honorable Bosire. Honorable Mbadi.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, allow me to finally take the CS again back to the documents, just for a minute, which she presented, folio 5. I see this letter, and by the way, I thought you could look at it because what I'm asking you is something that I need to be educated on. Under folio 5, this memo to Principal Secretary, Planning, I wanted to know what is the meaning of this reference number. Does it mean that this memo should have a distinct reference number, or all the memos from your ministry has the same reference number? If it should be distinct, I see a number of memos having the same reference number. I have about 3 of them. You see, you wrote to the Principal Secretary Planning on the variance in expenditure indicated for the road construction project, and it has the reference number MDP 3181. Again, another memo which is on important matters to note on procurement, finance and human resource management in the ministry, has also the same reference number, having the same numbers. Was it that your ministry has the same reference number for memos? And I'm asking that because there was an earlier letter on folio 4. On folio 4, there was a letter from the Public Service Commission which made a reference to a letter that you had written and with the same reference number. So I needed to be educated whether all the letters from the ministry bear the same reference number or they should be different. Finally, Chair, I don't know why this document was given to us, because I thought we were being given a document about supplementary budget and the need for it. I was looking at the columns and I checked approved estimates, which was the same figure as printed estimates, which was about 13.3 billion. Cumulative expenditure plus all commitments, giving total payments about 11.7 billion, and the balance is 1.6. So why I don't understand what this document was meant to achieve. Was it to demonstrate to us that you didn't have enough money, so you asked for more supplementary budget? In which case, how was it that you needed more money when printed estimate, approved estimate was higher than what you actually spent and you had a balance?
Okay, Madam former CS noted down. Honorable Abdikadir.
Yes, Chairman.
And please make it brief because this is a final remarks.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, mine will be just holistically the issue of the five-point vision framework, which this country has spent so much money in terms of wanting to transform the National Youth Service, and in the process, unfortunately, we also lost so much money as a country. But my question to you is that do you think that the objectives of the five-point vision framework, which included the paramilitary training and service regimentation, that I think we saw some young people kicking very high, it's probably been achieved. But the other three, national service and youth resocialization, social transformation and vocational training, enterprise and youth economy, and bankable institution architecture. In your view, have we achieved this? Because at the end of the day, we're looking at this thing as a whole, and we will want to make a decision on whether there was really value for money in even this whole thing of the transformation of the National Youth Service. Has it been achieved? Has there been value for money?
Vice Chair.
In the country?
Thank you, Chair. I think mine will also be one question. As a policy maker, you are the authorized officer, and in your policy making, at some stage you decided to decentralize or to centralize all the procurement from the field units to the ministry headquarters. What informed that decision? Because I know field units have been operating independently previously, but when you moved in as the CS, you decided to say all procurement will be done at the National Youth Service headquarters, and more particularly, procurement over and above 2 million will be moved to the ministry. Why did you make that decision?
Okay, Madam CS, mine are a lot of questions, and I ask you to take a pen and paper, which you already have, and write them down, and I'll take you to your document which is submitted. Page 9, are you on page 9? On page 9, you're saying that, Hon Chairman, in conclusion, the effort to link me with her, this is Kavura, despite the glaring evidence, is an inconvenient truth, quote unquote. The committee determined on Tuesday that Kavura was covering up for somebody. That person cannot be me, as Kavura has said everything evil that can humanly be said about me, so who is she covering? I get the feeling that you know who Kavura is covering up for. Do you want to tell this committee? And why do you think you are so easy to pick on as somebody to be, somebody at whom and everything evil that should be thrown at? Systematic promotion of Arake. I noticed, and this was submitted by the PS, that the indent you sent to the PSC was watered down and not compliant with the NYS Act. Were you telemaking it with the Harake in mind? Because it is clear that attempts to have Harake promoted had failed. Why did you instruct the PS to get your guidance before discussing the matter with PSC? That is what the PS submitted yesterday, that he should get is on his submission, which is an official record of Parliament. Why did you instruct him to get your guidance before discussing the matter with the PSC? And this country was treated to something very unusual when this scandal broke out, and that is the public spat between you and the PS. Why did you resort to attacking your PS publicly? Because everybody knows, and I can tell you, the PS was not only your PS initially, he was your supporter. When you were doing your homecoming in Gishugu, the first time it failed, the PS called all of us, and you know our political disposition on the other side. And because personally we are colleagues, and he said it would look very embarrassing for me to be there alone with my PS, and yet I'm working to help even you people. Some of us, we did not know that it was changed. I drove all the way to Thika and came back. You remember when you're doing your homecoming? Although you seem to think that I have some opinion about you, I don't. I drove all the way up to Thika, called PS Mangiti and said, where is this function? He said, oh, I didn't tell you. I sent you a text yesterday, the function was cancelled. That's why I didn't come for the second one. You and Mangiti were very good friends. You were working very well. But then somehow, what happened? Why did you resort to attacking your peers publicly in the media and distancing yourself from what was going on? In your view, as the authorized and really as the CEO of the ministry, do you think this portrayed leadership? We have discussed your table and the submissions on page 10, and we have said those were inadmissible. You'll have to change those. And then I go to page 18. Page 18, you seem to be categorical that the communication between CSS was CS to CS. But the CS, as the PS as the accounting officers appointed by the PS Treasury on matters finance, and I believe I've seen very many direct communication on matters finance. This issue of the supplementary budget was a matter on finance. Why do you think it was important for you to put it forward and not the PS? And then on your last page, the last page of your submission, sorry, the second last page, page 20, and the third paragraph, you're saying, Hon Chair, it's not enough for the committee such as this to be told that one individual or another is linked to certain business interest. A public official's capability with regard to procurement is based on whether there is proof that they influence the procurement process and directly and personally benefited from the proceeds of the procurement. Why is it that so many people seem to be saying almost the same thing? So many people coming from different backgrounds seem to be saying almost the same thing about your leadership style, about your, the way you are running the ministry, literally micromanaging the ministry. Then you have said categorically that you are not interested. I mean, you're saying that, in fact, I think there's a place where you have said that that you're very categorical that Hon Chair, I have no interest in any company that has done business in NYS or any other arm of government, and neither does my mother, my brother, my sisters, or their spouses. This is an investigative committee, and some of the information we receive from interested parties. And I want you please to be on record and remember you're on oath, because we are going to call these people here. We have received a dossier here with names of companies, and I will read those companies to you. One of them is Benchmark Holdings, where we were told you have an interest. Another one first one is Benchmark Holdings Limited. The second, which is registration, you may want to take down the registration number of the company C146867 if you're interested in following up. Then another one, the names seem to be almost the same. That was Benchmark, and this is also Benchmark. I don't know why they should have the same, but this is a different registration number, C153776. There's another company here called Benel Building Construction. Please note down the names of these companies because these people are going to appear before the committee. Another one is called Suncom General Supplies. Suncom General Supplies. Another one is Nyamchi Enterprises. Another one is Loche Agencies. Another one is Enon Springs. Enon Springs. E-A-E-N-O. Enon Springs. No, I want to read all of them because we've been told these were linked to her. Another one is Blue Jewel General Agencies. Blue Jewel General Agencies. Another one is Blue Star Enterprises. Another one is Derby Technologies Systems. And we have here in the audit report, by the way, that the PS requested, the special audit of all these companies appear there. You remember the PS at some point requested special audit and an audit for pending bills. All these companies have pending bills with the ministry, either with the Ministry of Devolution and Planning or with the NYS. Another one is Millennium Instrumentation Limited. Another one is Selumna Limited. Another one is Greenberg Holdings Limited. Another one is Liz L-I-Z-S-O-L Chem Company. Lizol Chem Company. Another one is Apex Projects Limited. Another one is Patso Enterprises Limited. Another one is Kenya Vehicle Manufacturers Limited. Another one is Helix Logistics Limited. There are many, you'll have to bear with me. Another one is Brandspark, and we were told to be particularly focused on this company, Brandspark Supplies Limited, so you need to note it down. The owners is Lucy Mukiri and Grace Mudhoni Wainaina. Lucy Mukiri and Grace Mudhoni Wainaina. We were told to take particular focus on that company. Another one, again, where we were told to take a particular focus on is Millet Company Kenya Limited, owned by Simon Gitahi Kamaitha and Caroline Mumbi Kamaitha. Another one is La Villa Enterprises. Another one is Marshline Agencies Kenya Limited. Another one is Sakoji Limited. Again, we were also told to take a particular interest on this one, owned by Nganga Njuguna Mbage and Waithera Mbage. Another one is Fahasa Limited. Another one where we are told to have a particular interest is called Bora Global Limited, owned by Maria Blessing Nyambura Nganga and Wilson Waihenya Ngima. Bora Global Limited, owned by Mariah Blessing Nyambura Nganga, Wilson Waihenya Ngima. Another one is Sigi Holdings Limited. Another one is Jogat Supplies Limited. Another one is Baltimore General Supplies. Another one is Reed's Co. Kenya Limited. Another one where we're told to have particular interest on is Things of Desire Limited, owned by Susan Wanjiru Kamanja, Sylvia Nyambura Kamanja, and Victor Murithi Mahinja. We work for the people of Kenya, and every information they give us, we take seriously. Another one is Dayton Investments Company Limited. Another one is Diamond Holdings Limited. Another one where we are told to have a particular interest is Alpha Mercantile Limited, owned by Simon Migwi Mutua, Dinah Wanjiru, and Njeri Musheru. Alpha Mercantile Limited, owned by Simon Migwi Mutua, Dinah Wanjiru, Njeri Musheru. Another one is Oginicho Kenya Limited. And last, no, not, they're still. Then another one is Cloud Ventures Limited. Another one is Dama Services Limited. Another one is Monroe Company Limited. And another one where we're told to take a particular interest on is Green Farm Chemicals Limited, owned by Catherine Waroi Mboi and Isaac Nganga Kuria. And another, last but not least, Technology House Kenya Limited. This is from people who have been observing these proceedings, and they said we need to call it's a lot of work, as you can see. So I just wanted to, because based on your submission, there are people who believe that you either have an interest in these companies, or in fact, some of the people who own these companies are related to you, blood relations to you. You will have to answer that question. Then lastly, this is my last comment. These engagements, contrary to some of the comments you have made, are not in any way personal. Some of us do this because, like I said when I started, we believe in this country. Some of us do this thing because we believe the full potential of this country is yet to be realized. And some of us are genuinely concerned. You have, from what I hear in the media, I think you also have people, either your children or relatives, who fall in the bracket of the youth. The youth problem in this country is a concern. I said it here yesterday, and I want to say it again, that when some of us went to the university in the late 80s and the early 90s, coming from the rural areas, one of the things we enjoyed most on a Friday like tomorrow was to escort those of us who are going to see their families back at home, walk back from Motisi through Kirinyaga Road, through the tunnel of Nairobi University to the halls of residence. The town was very secure. Now it's not possible. And one of the contributing factors is the youth problem in Kenya, because we have too many unemployed youth. I'm told next to South Africa, our unemployment rate is the second highest in Africa at over 40%. And yet, the interventions that are meant to address the youth problem don't seem to work. You saw the Youth Enterprise Fund. The discussions were happening just 2 rooms away from here. Unbelievable. There were very many departments under you. During the course of these investigations, we happened by chance, by the way, to look at procurements undertaken by special programs. And we're just comparing, for example, what it cost to buy a sack of maize and what they were using to supply a sack of maize. And we were shocked. So personally, from where I sit, and these committee members will share it with me, if the full audit of the ministry was to be conducted, what we are looking at would be definitely much more. I mean, if you could go from the Youth Enterprise Fund to the special programs, all the departments, emergency responses and all those things, it will definitely be much more. Now my question to you, on reflection, what do you think? How could it have gotten this bad under your watch? And on retrospection, what do you think, given another chance, what could you have done differently to prevent this sorry state of affairs? Last week, you know, I think it was this week actually, we had the chance to be visited by the president of a neighboring country, the Honorable John Pombe Magufuli, and he actually cleverly gave us a lecture on corruption. I happened to have gone to Tanzania about 7 years ago, and I was addressing a conference of engineers, and the East African had just published how we were doing well in terms of the number of dollar millionaires in Kenya, and it said that Kenya has more dollar millionaires than the rest of East Africa combined, and I was very pleased about that. I mean, if wealth is earned in a good way, there's nothing wrong with it. But the Tanzanian MC, when he took his turn to speak after me, said that I may celebrate the fact that we have very many dollar millionaires in Kenya, more than anyone else in the region, but he knows that the poorest person in East Africa lives in Kenya, just like the richest person in East Africa also lives in Kenya. Those are depressing statistics. In retrospection, what would you have done differently given another chance? And I know you're looking for a very senior office, and I pray that you get it if the people of Kirinyaga so decide. What have you learned? How could it have gone bad, and what could you have done differently? I thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. I'll start with Honorable Bosira's questions in the same order. Reluctance to resign and the public perception. I think I need to say my views. One, the reason I was reluctant to resign is because of the message we'd be sending. That if you unearth a corruption, then you leave. Because it wasn't like in other cases where I was implicated. It is me who found and whistle blew. And so that was the reluctance. The issue of public perception, contrary to what you think, actually, in terms of what people perceive of me, it was very clear there was a targeted media campaign to get me out. We have already established it. Somebody put 200 million down and said we must get rid of her for various reasons. This was a convergence of interest. They are the cartels who we blocked the money for, and whoever the puppeteers are, who said she must get out. But then also the opposition took the opportunity to bash the Jubilee government, as would be expected. And so combined, then you have whatever it is that happened. But it is not lost to the Kenyan public, I will tell you. I have been out in Kirinyaga. I have been talking to people. I've been to Kajiado. I've been elsewhere in public forums with various friends supporting the people in politics now that I am attempting a political office. And they know. You can tell by the way they receive me. You can tell by what they tell me. They know the truth. They see through all the charades. They may not be able to completely pin who, but they can tell. So that was really it was a targeted media campaign. It has never happened in this country. Social media, even today, I believe it's the cartels that we blocked. Not the cartels in Josephine Kafura sitting here. It's not Josephine. Josephine is somebody's puppet. That's why she can't even tell you what's in that affidavit. If you asked her, even in camera, she won't tell you. She didn't write that document. It had 120-something paragraphs. I have a problem remembering, and I think with my education background, and I would be, you read it and say, she didn't write it. Somebody wrote that document for her. Somebody did. And I will tell you, the reason why it was written, if you notice, it was written a week, exactly 7 days, unleashed with a lot of drama, 7 days after my clearance with EACC. Why, would you ask? The reason being they had heard that she might be reappointed, and that's a fact. And therefore, they came up with this new scheme. Now, I don't like to dwell with stories and say, oh, it was fake or not fake, but again, as I said, the CID has already established that it was a false document. If you put her here and asked her some of those specific questions, she won't be able to respond. And I actually, to tell you the truth, I feel very sorry for her. Because whoever has used her, I don't even think she realizes the mess that she's in herself. I don't think so. I don't think she comprehends the seriousness of her issue, if you look at her. I don't think so. But as I said, we live in Kenya. It was a new phenomenon. Who expected anything like this? But everybody has seen through it. If you listen to the conversations after she was here, people could tell there is somebody behind her and has given her strict instructions. I'll also tell you of another coincidence, that everybody who came here, suddenly, no matter the question, Waiguru. Why did you sign Waiguru? Why did you, I mean, it's not possible. You should have at least two differing. The fact that all of them sang the same tells you somebody somewhere is watching the instructions and has told them, make sure when you go there. Why? Because when they were taken to court, they were told the reason she's not in court is because she's not implicated. And so they thought that to implicate is to say. But you see, to saying is not enough. You need to produce something else other than a statement and saying, and they don't think they realize that. And that's why I started even in my presentation with the issues of the people who came and said this and what I think. So on that issue of public perception, there is that which is in social media, driven by a certain group of people for a certain audience. There is those that will go to print media, but Kenyans are not fooled. You all know your politicians. Kenyans are not fooled. Many times people will think, I'm extremely popular and therefore I'll go and stand and win. And you don't win. Then you realize you actually were not popular. Because the people down there are very clever. They say, let them just continue thinking. So you know that Kenyans are not fooled. And I'm not persuaded that they can see through everything. They can tell you by their observation, their views. Then there are those who are persuaded by a political dispensation. There are those who will think, I wouldn't like her because she looks like she's against our political side or etc. And if you notice, I stayed completely away from that conversation. So in terms of perception, I'm not too driven by the issue of perception. I think what is more important for me is the truth. And that can never change.
Mr. Chairman, I'm very happy with that response, but I included something small, that the appointing authority was reluctant to release you. Do you think, in their knowledge, having probably been aware of what you have said, that's why they were reluctant to release you, and maybe given the way you have been pushed so hard, at some point, maybe when it is secure, you might make the public to be aware actually who the identities are or the individuals are?
Actually,
that's what I meant. You see, when you reveal the individuals, you have revealed the 200 million, because actually you are categorical that it is 200 million. That's very serious.
Madam Waiguru,
let me leave that one there.
Madam Waiguru,
and I have heard you on the issue of perception. I think I would not want to comment on that matter. I think it was more a matter of principle that we need to set a precedent where you don't attack whistleblowers, because you need to encourage people to actually come out and say there's a problem here. Otherwise, they'll cover up. You know, it was possible to cover up, by the way. It was possible to cover up this theft.
Yeah, Madam Waiguru,
but the fact that we decided to call, the price has been extremely heavy for many people, not just me. So I think that was the reluctance, I think, in my view. That's my view.
Yeah, Madam Waiguru, before you go to the next question.
20 questions.
Yeah, there are 20 questions, yes. We are here. You just said that you made a very serious allegation which really you ought to substantiate, because this is a House of Records, and remember you're on oath. You said that 200 million shillings was put down to get rid of you. Honestly, if you know that 200 million was put down to get rid of you, you must know who availed the Kenya shillings 200 million, who are the members of the cartel. This could help us. In fact, this could be useful for us as a committee to get to the bottom of it, because you are under oath and you are obligated to say the truth. Because this is the person, you see, there is no point chasing the wind when the person we are looking for, somebody who can put 200 million to get rid of you. That would be the person behind the scam, and would be interested in that person.
Let me say that I think the only thing I can say is that I have said in terms of the linkages of the people, I can say confidently that that person is linked to Ben Getty in that sense. And I think that I'm not the investigating agencies. I think you can find out for yourselves who the cartels are that really fought. And I don't think that's so important about the
No,
fact.
it is. It
I
is.
think the important thing is that is a theft.
You-
and
you-
I've
you-
already said,
No, please, madam. You've said 200 million shillings. People do not put 200 million shillings really for nothing. I mean, honestly, if you want to help us, if you are truly interested in this committee and you've said in your submission, your prayer really, the running theme of your prayer is that the committee should get to the bottom of this so that the real culprits are brought to book. I think it is in your interest. You've just said 200 million shillings was put down to get rid of you. By who? Who are the cartels? You'd be helping the committee. If you want to say it in camera, we can let you say it in camera.
It's important, actually.
It is very
It can
important.
Be the cameras, at some point, when she finally has presented everything,
yes,
on that particular one, to assist the committee, and it will
Yes.
be in confidence, really.
I think I've already said what I needed to say regarding the cartels, and I've already said it's a cartel that is linked to Ben Getty. I think the rest, the committee can find out the linkages of the investigative agencies.
So do you want to withdraw that statement?
No, I've already told you the cartels are linked to Ben Getty.
So it is Ben Getty and his group?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The reference number of the file, I asked that when I went to the ministry. They told me that's how they write their references. I think it's a file. So everything in that same file has the same number. So they take the reference on the cover of the file, and that's what they write on all the letters. My background is from an institution where we used to have a specific reference for every letter, and it was very odd to find that you use the same reference, but that is the culture. Centralized, why procurement was eventually centralized. I'll answer it simply. I said on matters specific to procurement, I won't, but on policy. If you look at similar organizations, the security agencies, they actually do centralize. It's the best practice in security agencies. Look at the army, the police. That is how it's done. So the reason why we had issues before was actually because it was all over the place, and we were streamlining. On the issue of saying on page 9 about who is Kafura covering for, I have raised it again. Other than Ben Getty, there are other probably people linked to them, and I'm sure they can be able to establish that. On the issue of attacking the PS in the media, I actually did not attack the PS in the media. I think we happen to have differed on one point or other, and as I said, up to the point where the NYS issue came up, we had a very good relationship. So the issue of attacking him in the media was not actually an intentional issue. That's how he construed it. Was this leadership in terms of coming out and accepting that we had a problem in the ministry? I think that is what a responsible leader does, and calls the investigative agencies. On the issue of budget, I think we've exhausted that question again on budget. We've gone in all angles on that question, and the issue of writing and approvals and all. And my responses would be the same as I have said them earlier. On the issue of micromanaging, why everybody said the same thing, I have explained why I think they were all saying the same thing. It's because, in my view, they are under instruction, and they're also extremely angry. Most of those people are the people in court. So you'd expect them to, they blame me because I'm the one who called the police. So you'd expect that they would all be, when they're trying to get me into it, so that I also feel the pinch, they would agree on what to come and say, and that is my personal belief, that they actually have an agreement and they have been given instructions from whoever it is that they're dealing with. Before I go to the issue of reflections, let me just repeat again on those companies, all of them. I wrote and I stopped writing. I said on Hansard, I have no interest, neither does my mother, my brother, my sisters, or their spouses. Not just with NYS, with any government department. But then again, you have at your disposal not just yourselves, all the investigative agencies. You can look. I think there was a lot of stories. And by the way, a lot of these stories came up when this NYS saga came, and it was a decoy. It was decoys to lead us that way, so that you do not come this way. But you can check, I'm sure you will be checking, not one is mine, or my brothers, or my sisters, or my mothers. I've had some are my mothers. She does not do business. She's 76 or 78. You know, I mean, she's happily retired. My brothers and my sisters work in whatever, and it's very unfortunate that they keep dragging my sister into it. She does not do business. She works in an office and has worked for as long as we can remember. But then again, a lot of those companies have been under investigation. So we've answered this question very many times in terms of being checked. And I'm sure they have checked, and some of them you can ask the investigative agencies, they will even give you, or the registrar of companies or whoever else. So no, none of them, absolutely none. I do not do business, neither, and it was actually a conscious decision. I knew it was going to be extremely risky for me, knowing the ministry I was running and their attention and focus. So even my family, I told them, you will have to wait until I exit. If they want to come in now, that is really up to them, because I'm no longer a civil servant. But for as long as I was, but take your time, you will prove me right. On the issue of reflection, and by the way, I keep saying, I know people don't believe it. They ask me that 10 times. How? Even if you don't believe me, ask my closest friends and associates. They do their own things. It's just that many people think, allow me to say this, people think as they are. It's very difficult to imagine that you can run a ministry with this kind of opportunities and you yourself, as an individual, don't get involved. It's actually possible. We've worked in bigger institutions. This is not, government wasn't the biggest. And we have worked our careers up. So on those 20, I think there are 20, I wrote and I got tired, or is it whatever? None of them are anyone related to me, absolutely. And I have no interest whatsoever. Absolutely none. And by the way, if there was any, by now, I'd been caught. Because the fight I have been fought, they have searched night and day. All my bank accounts, my relatives' bank, they have checked. Phone records up to 10, 15 years. Go to Safaricom, you'll hear they have asked for them. Airtel. It's not possible. Until today, they don't have one. And by the way, you don't need to. Most people, the thing don't understand. It's actually more pain, in my view, doing business with certain institutions than doing it outside there. And maybe to summarize it, most people in the country don't do business with government. I think government employs about 500,000 people, and the people who do business with government are maybe another, maximum maybe 100,000. What do the other Kenyans do? Because they don't do business with government. And they build houses, these buildings, they feed their children. You can make money outside of government. I think we're very narrow to imagine that the only money anybody can ever make is through a government institution. That's my view. Reflection, what could I have done better? I think I gave it my best shot. In terms of reporting the fraud, I would still report. Because that is, you take an oath of office. Now, what transpired after that? Nobody teaches you on when you wake up and social media is about you or the headlines. So maybe the way we reacted to the media and all was different. And that, again, I can't say what I'd do or what I wouldn't do, because you're not even sure exactly what happened. And as I said, it was a very calculated warfare. So I don't know how to say, because it wasn't natural. If it was natural, you'd be able to say, if this happened, then I would do it this way. If, let's say, for example, we reported, investigative agencies took over, and there was nothing other than the cartels fighting back and all, you'll be able to predict how next time you would. But you don't know how they're going to react, so you cannot even actually say how you yourself will react anyway, other than in ensuring that, first of all, you stay safe, because you didn't expect that kind of vitriol to come your way. So in retrospect, I think we did what we could to ensure that, sorry, there was a question on did we achieve, the objectives of the 5-point plan. They were not to be achieved in 1 year. But did they start the journey? Yes, they did. Is it a good program? I think it's a fantastic program. And I think it would answer the problem of the youth in this country. That is my personal view. I think if you look at how the program is designed, no one actually takes a lot of interest in what was really in going to clean Kibera. It wasn't just about cleaning Kibera. It was about giving young people livelihood. We paid them. It was about training. They cleaned in the morning, they went to class in the afternoon to be taught how to save, how to invest, and that's why they have over 1.5 billion shillings in their circle. I mean, many of those people didn't have a cent as savings. Now they belong in circles where they have started businesses, some are thriving, some are struggling, but the point is, it gave hope to the youth of this country. So if there's a program, I would advocate to continue for this, and not just this government, any government that comes. I don't think there can be a better program. In fact, recently it was featured as one of those to be recognized in Africa. Next, I think, to one other country, I forget which one, by an international journal, a program that is impacting the youth of this country. And I think the program in itself is good. It's unfortunate what happened. It's unfortunate. Sometimes I'm not even sure that it was not planned. You know, it was not a natural thing. This theft is not natural. So I'm not sure that it wasn't planned to tarnish, but I don't want to speculate also. Maybe when you find whoever the puppeteer is, you may be able to tell us exactly what it is. And so...
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, sir, just small. The former CS is quite convincing in a number of explanations, and she's eloquent in the way she's putting the points across. Just wondering aloud, it's normal, even in the family or wherever. This was your home, this was your institution that you are demanded to manage. Looking back, is there anything, however small, that you can take responsibility?
I take responsibility for many things. I refuse to take responsibility for the theft of the money because I am not involved in the fraud. That I will not. And I will tell you why. I'll make it very simple. You have a house. A thief comes and breaks into your house, steals your radio. When you're on safari, you come back home. You continue with your life. Then another day you hear somebody entering. They don't know you are there. Because you are there, you call the police, they ran away, but they didn't manage to get in. But when you check, you discover actually your radio had been stolen before. Are you to blame that the thief chose your house and that they came and stole? Unless you're the one who told them. And that is the perfect example I can give on this matter. So,
Mr. Chairman, probably you didn't lock well, you didn't secure your compound well, you didn't do the basics. Sorry, that is all. You know, we are sharing. You see, this is how I'm trying to take you back to the ministry, because all these many things that have happened or happened, in a way one may say, okay, I forgot the key, that's why probably the thief found his way in. That's why I put the small basic question.
If the thief worked with your house help, and the house help opened the door, even if you locked, because this second time is because there was no one to open, and maybe when they jutted the door, the alarm came on, and so you called the cops. If they had just walked in, we would say maybe we didn't put systems. But I also want to emphasize here that the systems that apply in NYS, in the Ministry of Devolution and Planning, are the exact systems that apply in Treasury, are the exact systems that are in lands, are the exact systems in agriculture, in all the other ministries. It's not unique. And the rules and the laws are those ones that were outlined before. So in retrospect, I think we did our best, in my view. There are certain things we could have done better, especially in managing maybe the relationships and all that. But such is life. You learn, you live and learn. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Oh, you also have something small?
I have something small. There is this time, Chair, there is this time Harake's password was used. That money was not stolen during that time. The time Aden Harake's password was used, that money was not stolen. The money that was paid immediately he came was not stolen. It was paid to the correct people.
We stopped it. Whatever they were attempting to pass with his password, we stopped and reversed it. So it never passed and it never went to them.
All right, I think we really must come to the end of this. It's been a long day. Madam Waiguru, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. Like I said, this committee will make a decision. The companies that have written to you, the names have been presented by members of the public who want us to get to the bottom of this. The committee will make a decision whether they want to call them or not. Obviously, if one of them mentions you adversely, the least we can do is to call you back so that you can defend yourself. But that's a decision that the committee will make, not me, whether we want to call them or not. Honorable members, thank you very much. Our partners from the Treasury, the Reverend, and Raphael Muigai Kame and your colleague, and everyone else who came, the media, thank you so much for highlighting what we're doing. We really appreciate. Honorable members, I'll ask you to remain members of the committee just for 2 minutes. We make a decision on certain things, and then we move. Sorry? Madam Waiguru, sorry. The presentation has to be signed by you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We didn't use the phone a lot today. You appreciate it.
And I've received more than 1,000 messages.
But you are not that busy.
We are adjourned. It is. Sorry, you want to say something, Madam Waiguru?
Sitting here signing, can I deliver it or I sit and sign?
Please just sit and sign. It's been a long day. All the pages.
This is NTV.